hit 24 home runs. Number 15, George Foster. Batting seventh, he hit 12 homers for the world champion Tigers. Number 20, third baseman Howard Johnson. Batting eighth, the Mets' sensational fielding shortstop, number 3, Rafael Santana. And batting ninth and pitching in the bullpen, the 1984 National League Rookie of the Year. He led the majors in strikeouts and broke all Major League rookie strikeout records. Number 16, Dwight Gooden. The coaches, number 2, Bobby Valentine. Number 28,
there's the doctor,
Bill Robinson.
17-9 last year.
Number
The ovation
30,
he
Mel
got will
Stoudemire.
probably be surpassed when he takes the mound.
Number 51.
Already. He's pitching like he's hitting usually.
Yeah.
That was a good slider right there, but Hernandez, one of the best two-strike hitters in baseball, can fight off that pitch inside. Protects the outside part of the plate very well.
Off-speed delivery and a base hit to center field, and here comes Wilson. Van Slyke will have no play, and the Mets lead 1-0.
We said Hernandez protects the outside part of the plate. That's where the breaking ball was. Not only is it not a breaking ball that Andujar is used to throwing, but Hernandez is protecting away also. So it's a bad combination of pitches. And Hernandez has his first RBI of the year. It looks like Andujar may have a blister on his throwing hand. There's Gene Gieselman, the trainer of the Cardinals out there.
The inimitable Gene Gieselman.
The executive trainer. Right?
And here comes Whitey Herzog. He also is obviously concerned, as Andujar will be attended to.
That ball may have hit him. The line drive back through the box may have caught a finger. A lot of times pitchers will stick that bare hand out there. And Andujar, I think, in that particular situation, may have not been able to get that hand out of there in time. It's either that or a blister, but on a cold day like today, you know there's only blue showing up on that hand.
That's right. And you got to believe it wouldn't really be a blister. Andujar having not worked for a few days and only warmed up before the game.
Yeah. So the initial prognosis was probably wrong. Let's see if it got a little tip of the finger. It looks like the middle finger. Breaking ball away. Andujar jumps up. Nope. No, he didn't. He reached for that ball, and it did catch some skin.
Looks like
that's why pitching coaches are scared to death when a pitcher reaches out for that bare hand. It's a reaction type of play. It's hurting him, too.
Now, the one thing you want to do that you react to is not let the ball go through.
Right.
So you stick anything out there. It looked a little bit on the replay like it's either his middle finger or his ring finger. If it's his ring finger, it's obviously a little bit less of a problem. If it's his middle finger, it could be a major problem because that's the finger with which you control the baseball.
And apply pressure.
Right. Here is Gary Carter's first Shea Stadium at bat as a New York Met. And he comes up with 1 out, a run in. Hernandez at first base. Carter tied for the National League lead in RBIs with 106 last year, while hitting .294 and socking 27 home runs. Breaking ball for strike 1.
That doesn't confuse you as a hitter. Here's a guy complaining about his finger, and he takes 5 minutes out of the game and comes back and throws the nastiest slider of the day on you.
You can't be looking for it.
Man.
Hit him. Certainly not intentional. Andujar pitches inside and has a reputation for moving hitters off the plate.
Little animation early here. Watch Carter as he slams the bat toward the dugout. First at bat for the Mets will be a memorable one.
Didn't last very long either.
But it smarted. It looks like it hit that elbow, the left elbow, Gary Carter, and it hurts. I tell you, when you carry around a reputation like Andujar has, almost every time he throws inside to a guy, people are inclined to think that he's throwing inside to hit him.
Well, Gary is hurting. I'm telling you, yes, he is. There are, of course, as anybody who's even bumped their elbow knows, some very sensitive nerves in there. That's why they call it your crazy bone, and your arm can just go dead, totally dead from the shoulder down.
First at bat for as a New York Met, Gary Carter takes a fastball right on the elbow. Man, I mean, it looks like it's right on the tip.
And this cold weather doesn't make it any better, boy. Makes it twice as bad.
When people talk about toughness, as we look at Bob Forsch warming up, people talk about toughness in a catcher. You don't talk about the bones. There's no way you can be tough when a bone's hurting like that. You talk about muscle toughness.
Right. And you take enough off the muscle without getting one off the bone. Darryl Strawberry takes inside for ball one. Darryl with 26 home runs and 90.
He hit. He made the big circle toward the pitcher's mound to go into first, and I'm sure there were some words exchanged.
And Andujar, coupled with the fact that Andujar does have the reputation of being a headhunter.
Yes, he does. So now we go to the top of the second. Mets leading 2-0. Cardinals went out in order in the first inning. A good catch helped the situation. Mookie Wilson in center field hauling down a drive by Tommy Herr, and now it's Jack Clark, the newcomer. And Clark, formerly of the San Francisco Giants, gets a fastball that's a strike. Clark hit .320 for the Giants last year with 11 home runs, 44 RBIs, and an abbreviated season. This spring he hit .345. And a good curveball.
That was Uncle Charlie now right there.
White working with a count of 2 strikes on Jack Carter. Carter, the big power man for the Cardinals now that George Henriquez moved on to Pittsburgh. Fastball hit to deep left field. It is gone. Goodbye. So Carter, in his initial at bat as a St. Louis Cardinal, has done what the Cardinals want. He has homered to put the Cardinals on the board.
And a bad pitch by Dwight Gooden. It's a 2-0 pitch instead of an 0-2 pitch. Ball right down Broadway, and with the hand action that guy can exhibit, I'll tell you, he can flat turn around a fastball. He can turn around a lot of pitches. I don't think anybody in the National League right now, with maybe the exception of George, got him. Fastball right on the corner, and Andujar gets his 3rd strikeout. One away, and Darryl Strawberry will be the batter.
This ball backs up onto that outside corner. Fine pitch.
The road.
I don't think they'll pitch to him, though. They'd rather pitch to Wally Backman, but Davy Johnson says, fine, you got to use another jug.
Ball in the dirt. Rusty will take the walk. Everybody's safe. Bobby Wilson with a fly ball to center. Van Slyke has a beat on it. Welcome to New York, Gary Carter.
This game started with the World Series atmosphere, and I think it has one right now. About 40% of these fans have fanned out of here at Shea Stadium, and I'm telling you, he did not hit a bad pitch. A nasty curveball, low and away. Woo!
Well, the ballet-hooed arrival of Gary Carter in a Mets uniform could not have ended on a better or higher note.
Some of you folks are watching. You go out and try to hit a pitch in that position out that far. I guarantee you, with that downward action, that is a nasty pitch, a nasty curveball, outside corner. It was up just a little bit, but Neil Allen suffers his first defeat of the year at the hands of Gary Carter. And I mean, that was a rope. There wasn't a lot of loft to that ball.
This ball does just get over the bullpen fence in left field. Lonnie Smith thought he had a chance at it.
Oh, what a storybook finish to this ball game. Man.
And what a classic picture of Lonnie Smith pounding the ground in disgust as Carter thrills this New York crowd in his debut with a game-winning, bottom of the 10th inning, tie-breaking home run. The winning pitcher is Tom Gorman. Neil Allen suffers the loss. Gary Carter, of course, the game-winning RBI.
Carter's our guest, and also Mookie Wilson. We're going to be back. We're going to do the score.
It was a Chuck Rainey fastball that hit me on about the same spot, and I guess it's that nerve there. And it scared me a little bit at first because the feeling went out of my hand and my arm, and all I was just trying to do was force it to come back in. But fortunately, I was able to stay in the ball game, and the main thing is that we won.
Well, it certainly did come back in. You took a big circle route going to first base. You say something to Andujar, who hit you?
Ball and get called out on strikes, and Andujar steals a base. It wasn't a very good beginning, but the result at the end
puzzle the game-winning home run in the bottom of the 10th inning. So the Mets win their opener, beating the Cardinals 6-5. Now here is Gary Carter's first time up as a Met, facing Joaquin Andujar, and he's hit by a pitch on the elbow. He got hit twice today. Now in the third inning, Foster, forget it, deep to left center field. He had struck out in the first inning, though, with the bases loaded, so redemption. Bad news today for the Mets was their bullpen. Doug Sisk couldn't hold Dwight Gooden's lead. Sisk walked in the tying run in the 9th inning. So it was Tom Gorman who got the win today. Now the heroics. Carter, deep to left field off former Met Neil Allen. Lonnie Smith goes back, but it's gone. So go nuts, crowd, and Carter the hero in his first game, 6-5 Mets. Now you realize that makes 2 straight Shea Stadium openers that Carter has hit a big home run. Remember last year as a Montreal Expo facing Ron Darling? He hit this grand slam home run to left field. So he loves the openers at Shea. How did he feel about today's home run?
Total excitement. It's a feeling that it's very, very hard to describe. You know, the fact that I'm here in New York and amongst these teammates of mine that I'm so proud to be a part of. Coming here, opening day, friends from California, my wife being here, a 50,000 plus filled capacity crowd. There's not enough words to describe what it's like.
But the Cubs also won, so the magic number for the Mets remains 161. Rick Sutcliffe did it again for Chicago, 15 straight wins over 2 regular seasons. But the play of the game at Wrigley today, Tony Pena, the Pirate catcher, going for the foul ball, and he gets it and goes flying into the dugout. He held on. Cubs won at 2-1.
So it was 6-5. Now, early, Gary's got some problems. Joaquin Andujar results in his St. Louis run right here. He's in a lot of pain, but he's okay. We pick up the action again. Mets lead 3-2, 4th inning. Keith Hernandez cracks one left field, base hit. Dwight Gooden in the jacket coming around. He will score. Hernandez is on today, 3 hits and 2 RBIs. And the Cards behind 5-4 in the 9th. Doug.
Yeah, the way it finished and the fact that we won the ball game, which is always the most important.
It's nice to see Gary do it, and we'll look forward to more of the same.
Not a bad way to start. Dwight Gooden, incidentally, goes 6 innings, strikes out 6, the win to Tom Gorman in relief. Tonight in Philadelphia, opening night at the Vet. Phillies and the Braves. Nice way to start.
At Shea this afternoon, the Mets do it again, beat the Cardinals 2-1 in 11 innings. Neil Allen, the loser on Tuesday, loser again today, walked in the winning run with no outs and the bases loaded. Let's go to the videotape. And who threw out the first ball? That's right, Rodney Dangerfield. All right, Rodney. That's it, throwing out the first ball. Now, the big hit, bottom of the 11th, Hernandez on first. Carter singles off Art Howe's glove. Hernandez goes to third. After the intentional walk to Foster to load the bases. Allen's 3-2 pitch to pinch hitter Danny Heap. Ball 4, that's it, forcing in Hernandez, and the Mets win it 2-1. And once again, going back to July of 1983, the Mets are now 21-1 in extra inning ball games. Just opposite, of course, the way the Islanders are going in overtime. In Chicago, the Cubs beat the Pirates 4-1. Let's go to the videotape. Boom! There it goes. Lescano goes back, home run, bleacher bums, 4-0 Cubs. They win it 4-1.
Terry Pendleton with a base hit off Ron Darling, the only run that Darling would allow.
And John Tudor only allowed an unearned run. They went 1-1 through 9 innings. Pendleton drove in a run, but he gave it back. And then in the bottom of the 11th.
And the Mets, meanwhile, are off to their best start in 12 years. They beat the Reds 2-1 today at Shea Stadium. So far this year, the Mets are 4-0. All 4 wins are one-run wins, 3 of those wins on homers in the 9th. The Mets got on the board first in the 6th. Kelvin Chapman hits a routine fly to center. Right? Wrong. Eric Davis misplays it dramatically. It turns into a 3-base error, and Chapman later came around to score on Keith Hernandez' sacrifice fly. The Reds tied it. It came down to defense. Roger McDowell gets Cesar Cedeno to hit into the double play. Howard Johnson started it. Bottom of the 9th, it's tied 1-1. And just as they have done it before, they did it today. This time,
game in a row, beating Cincinnati 4-0 on a Dwight Gooden shutout.
Game is scoreless in the 6th inning, and there is you-know-who, Gary Carter, with his 3rd home run of the season to make it 1-0 Mets. Later, Ronnie Gardenhire singled home Darryl Strawberry, 2-0 Mets. After 6. In the 7th inning, Wally Backman triples down the line in right, and then Mookie came up, and Mookie doubled down the line in right, made the score 3-0. After Hernandez had moved Mookie to 3rd, Carter with a sacrifice fly, Mookie scores, and that made it 4-zip. Meantime, Mr. Gooden closes out the ball game with his 10th K against Davy Concepcion. Final score 4-0 Mets. Andrea Kirby.
And in Pittsburgh tonight, the Mets were happy, made it a record of 6-1, beat the Pirates 2-1 in a masterful pitching matchup. Ron Darling with another no decision, but he gave up only 1 hit in 7. This is the only hit. Johnny Ray, clean single, leading off in the 1st. That was it. Meanwhile, Carlos De Leon had his stuff going, struck out 14 Mets, a career high. Darryl Strawberry went down 4 times at all. Here's the big play of the game. Pirate 8, Matlock with the shot. Howard Johnson with the stop. Now 1 run scored, but Johnson saved another. The Mets with a run in the 9th to take the lead, and Jesse Orozco struck out the side, bottom of the 9th, to pick up the win. The first combined 1-hitter in Met history. Mets over the Pirates 2-1. In Chicago, Cubs also made it a record of 6-1, knocked off the Phillies 1-0. Reds beat the Braves 2-1, and here's the action in Chicago. Bob Denier went down the line, base hit for Denier. Larry Boa around a score to break it up as Dennis Eckersley went all the way, his first shutout in 3 years. As I said, Reds over.
Went to 3rd and then tried to go home.
And a fastball right at the 2nd baseman, Samuel, who's playing out in the outfield. Fly ball left field. Jeff Stone over near the line. Does he have room? And 1 to count to Hernandez. Line drive to left. Slicing. Foul ball. A blooper into right. The Mets are ahead 1-0. Hernandez didn't get near as much of the ball as he did on the outs he made previously in the ball game, but it was enough to get it over the head of first baseman Greg Gross for his 8th RBI of the year.
Look who else came. This is Ray Knight, better known as Nancy Lopez, and the littlest Knight. You don't see her, but the baby was there. The Mets unloaded their cannons early off John Tudor. In the 1st, Darryl Strawberry crushed one to right center to make it 3-0 in a hurry. Then in the 3rd inning, George Foster got a hold of a hook and smacked it over the wall in left center. And it was 6-0 New York in a breeze, right? Well, no, wrong. Here we see Lonnie Smith as the Cardinals use their speed. There's Ozzie Smith on 1st. And here we see Smith going to 3rd here very alertly. This is the 9th inning now. We skipped all the other innings. Let me tell you, though, the Cardinals did come back and nearly win it and there score it to narrow it to 7-6. And suddenly this lead is next to gone. Finally, Jack Clark, the big gun, with 2 out in the 9th. Orozco gets him to pop up and preserve the win. Calvin Schiraldi, the Mets rookie, his first Major League victory thanks to the home runs. And
Gary Carter hits a fly ball to center field. Andy Van Slyke and Vince Coleman going after it. Nobody gets the ball. Kelvin Chapman running all the way, scores from first base. Mets take a 1-0 lead. And that kept things alive for this man, Darryl Strawberry, who makes the Cards pay with a tremendous 2-run home run to right center. Darryl's 4th of the year. That made it 3-0 Mets. They would eventually lead 6-0. But now in the 4th inning, it's 6-3 Mets. Keith Hernandez doubles up the alley in right center. Mookie Wilson comes in to score. The Mets lead 6-3. Hernandez ties the club record with 7 RBIs in 7 games. 8th inning now. Cards rally. Vince Coleman rips a single to center. Ozzie Smith will score easily. Mookie Wilson misplays the ball in center field. Willie McGee also comes in to score, but the Mets hold on to win it 7-6. Rookie pitcher Calvin Schiraldi picks up his first Major League win. So, fall 1 game behind as a result of their loss last night in Pittsburgh. How about the best throw of the game? Cubs pitcher Dick Ruthven on Joe Orsulak's bunt. Ruthven fields the ball, flips it over to first with the glove hand for the out. 2nd inning now. Cubs trailing 1-0. Leon the Bull Durham. Dodgers 2-1. Tonight at the stadium.
Ron Darling, another great pitching matchup. He struck out 11 in this game, including Steve Kemp here. Got Kemp to go 3 times on the night. Wally Backman went 5 for 5 on the evening, including this terrific bunt down the first baseline, which will score John Christensen. He'll beat it out. Everybody's safe. It's 2-0. New York, bottom of the 2nd. Then along came Darryl Strawberry, bottom of the 5th. Solo shot. Boom. To right field. Forget about it. 4-0 Mets, but the Mets weren't without defense as well. That's a well-rounded baseball team. Obviously, they shut out the Pirates with plays like this. The diving catch by John Christensen. Watch this. Oh, what a catch indeed. George Hendrick sent it out there. Christensen made him pay for it. Mets win it easily, 6-0. And one other game.
2-0 to Carter. No, you just can't say enough about both ball clubs. Had 2 pitchers come into 2 situations with the bases loaded, one Guante and the other Orozco. Were dead after Strawberry's home run in the 1st inning, a grand salami. They didn't do it. They bounced back. The Mets had bounced back. And as we said, you know, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but the truth, everybody should be given credit.
And ball 4. The Mets get a runner on. Defensive ball game. He is out of the ball game now. Been a long, hard day. Preston Thompson and the Mets win it by a score of 5-4. So the Mets win it as Mookie Wilson scores.
It didn't start out that way. Bottom of the 1st, bases are juiced, but not for long. Darryl Strawberry gets every bit of it. Goes the other way. The grand slam. The Mets are up 4-0. But by the top of the 9th, it's a tie ball game. It gets away, but there's going to be a play at the plate, and Orozco's there for the tag. He gets Belliard out, and we go all the way to the 18th inning. Bottom of the 18th. Clint Hurdle drills it. Jason Thompson goes right between his legs. Mookie Wilson scores. 5-4 Mets win it. They were out-hit in this ball game, 18-6, but the Mets made theirs count. Elsewhere, who's in full?
Slugging Gooden all the way, struck out 8, pitched a 4-hitter. 4-1 over Houston. Take a look at this curveball. I mean, it's unhittable. And if you think that's bad, look at this fastball. Take a look at the swing. Guy's unbelievable. Didn't have his best stuff either. Meanwhile, here is Carter back at the plate with a big play. Picks off Reynolds at 2nd base. Is he playing? 7th inning, score 1-0. The other guys. Foster lines one to left field. Now Cruz makes a pretty good throw. Hernandez is out, but Ashby drops the ball safe. Heap then follows with a base hit. Watch his fellas get out of the way. And this is the go-ahead run. They get 2 more in the 8th inning. Final 4-1. The Mets beat Houston in Chicago.
And a strikeout. His first Major League at bat.
Just like that. About 60 seconds ago, Tibbs may have been thinking no-hitter. That went with the Hernandez hit, and the shutout and the lead went on home run number 4 by Gary Carter.
RBIs number 6 and 7. We talked earlier about his RBI and hitting drought. A fastball up. He may have wanted him to get inside more to try and jam Carter, tie him up.
Some injuries, a shaky starting pitching rotation. The Mets still got some good numbers. Now, Dave Johnson's crew stand at 14-8, half game out in the National League East. Dwight Gooden got the win today. He's now 4-1 as the Mets slip by the Cincinnati Reds 3-2. Number 14 is Pete Rose. Big day for the player manager. 3 hits, all singles. He needs 75 more to break Ty Cobb's mark. I want to talk about Lynn Dykstra for the Mets. Since coming up, being called up, the guy's made a lot of contributions. Base hit here into left, scores Rafael Santana. Mets lead 1-0 in the third. Got some drama, bottom of the ninth. Mets lead 3-2. The Reds have 2 on. Pete Rose is up, fly ball. Now Dykstra breaks in, dives, and makes the catch. Now we're going to talk about Gary Carter, the catcher for the Mets. He's already playing with a broken rib, takes a foul tip, got nailed, had to leave with 2 outs in the game. Looks like Gary's going to be okay. I know it doesn't look like it there, but he is. Mets held on to win at 3-2. They also sent reliever Doug Sisk down to Tidewater, recalled reliever Wes Gardner. National League scoreboard, Houston.
Slam, snapping a 1-1 tie in the 8th, and this after the Braves intentionally walked Keith Hernandez to get to Carter, and as we see, he located high drive.
And now the New York Mets are taking the field. Ed Lynch on the mound, and it's popped up. Keith Hernandez making the call for it, and the catch. 1981.
You know, Ralph, it'll be
a little, his grandmother. There's ball 2.
There's that thing. Yeah, there it is.
So the Mets have Backman on, a threat to steal, and Mookie Wilson back in the lineup. Mookie hitting 2, ball fouled back out of play. And it's going foul. And the Mets have a runner in scoring position on the strikeout. Choice. It's way back, going, it is gone, goodbye. And the high
slop, a fastball,
and ball 4. No other starters won a ball game. And he hits it foul. And pray for rain. But there was another good up there. Go, and the ball is fouled. Does not go, and the ball hit high in the air to center field. Ball lines it down the left field line. It's an extra base hit. Carter, who's having trouble running because of that bad knee, goes to third base and holds there. And Foster eases in with a double. And it's blooped into shallow left center field. Might drop in. Going back is Ramirez, and he makes a fine over-the-shoulder catch to... And again, the curveball. And again, good stop.
Mets and the Phils. Dwight Gooden on the mound for the Mets. Gerald Perry makes the play, tags first.
Track shutout tonight from Ed Lynch, the first of his career. 4-0, long ball by Hernandez. Let's take a look at how it happened. First inning, Mets get a runner on, and Hernandez comes up. And this is a peach of a pitch. High and in his inside zone. 2-0 Mets. Then in the 5th inning, Mookie Wilson on base. Carter comes through with another RBI hit. Single to right center field. That's all they really needed. 4-0, 5-hitter for Lynch. Mets at the moment in first place. In San Francisco, the Cubs, who started the day, tied with the Mets.
Meanwhile, at Shea Stadium in New York City, the Mets riding a 3-game losing streak. The Phillies on a 3-game winning streak. What a matchup in pitching. Steve Carlton against Dwight Gooden. All of the elements in a big crowd on hand. But 173 less than a full house. In the top of the 4th, Gooden struck out his 5th in a row, getting Mike Schmidt swinging. He had 13 on this night to go 5-1 on the season. He had a no-hitter through 6 2/3, wound up giving up just 3 hits. Bottom of the 4th inning with Darryl Strawberry aboard. He got all the offense he needed. George Foster, the home run over the left field wall to make it 2-0 New York Mets. But Gooden and the Mets would get more offense, a little bit more than what they needed, but you never have enough, I guess. It was the bottom of the 7th, Gary Carter, who is really swinging a heck of a bat right now, cleared the bases with a double that gave the Mets 3 more runs and a 5-0 lead at that stage. And, of course, Dwight Gooden made it hold up for his 5th victory in 6 decisions on this season, the final at Shea Stadium. It's now the Philadelphia Phillies riding a 1-game losing streak. One other game to report.
At home.
Many.
The czar of bachelorhood, Jerry Elzar.
And another one planned tonight. No let up. You know, I'm not vindictive. These people are very safe. I don't think about it. About a week ago, Panic City around the Mets starting pitching rotation after Dwight Gooden and Ron Darling. What do you got? Well, this week they got a shutout from Ed Lynch, and then today, Sid Fernandez, strong outing combining with Roger McDowell for a one-hitter. That's the third shutout in a row for the Mets. 4-0 to final over the Philadelphia Phils. Now, Fernandez just activated today. Len Dykstra sent down to Tidewater. Fernandez, very impressive, struck out Mike Schmidt, got Schmidt 3 times on the day. Key play right here, watch it. Third inning, the Mets lead 1-0. At the plate, Juan Samuel now takes it to right. Darryl Strawberry on the move, makes the diving catch, but falls over. You see him on his hand. Now, here's what happened. Darryl suffered torn ligaments in his right thumb. He will be re-examined tomorrow morning. If surgery is required, out 4 to 6 weeks. Fourth inning, that's Von Hayes, solid single to right. That is it for the Phillies offense. Only 1 hit on the day. Bottom of the 5th, the Mets increase the lead. That's Keith Hernandez, base hit. RBI as the Hernandez-Fernandez connection works. Sid scores, 3-0 Mets lead. As for Sid, he went 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, 6 walks. Roger McDowell relief, 3 scoreless innings. Mets win their 5th in a row. 4-0 is the final. National League scoreboard, 30 straight scoreless innings for the Expos staff. Montreal blanks the Braves in 12-2 victory over the Philadelphia Phils. That's 6 straight wins for Dave Johnson's crew. Bottom of the 1st got no score. Keith Hernandez tees off Kevin Gross, and it is a gunner, 1-0 Mets lead. Now I'm going to show you Danny Heap because the Mets are really going to need him because Darryl Strawberry has torn ligaments, will be out 6 to 8 weeks. Darryl's going to have surgery, so Danny Heap's going to have to come through. Got a couple hits today, going to need some offense. Later in the 6th, Rafael Santana, a blooper to right. Juan Samuel's after it. He's not going to get it. Neither is Greg Gross. So Danny Heap going to get on his horse and come all the way around to score. The Mets take a 3-1 lead. Now, Ron Darling got the victory today. He's now 3-1, but Jesse Orozco came on, got the save. Jesse, very impressive, strikes out John Russell to end the game. 6 in a row for the Mets, 3-2 the final. National League scoreboard, 4 straight shutouts for the Montreal Expo pitching staff. Houston, winner. San Diego beats the Cubs. In 10, San Francisco.
This round tripper off the pitching of Ron Darling made the score 3-2. Jesse Orozco pitched 2 final innings to preserve the win for Darling, who is and the Cubs, that is, by the score of 5-2. So the Chicago falls 2.5 games behind the division-leading Mets. But the Expos shut out the Braves to remain just 1 game back. The Dodgers also shut out.
Houston had pieced together a 4-game winning streak. New York looked to cool him off, and they could laugh and joke. Sure, Jesse Orozco, no, he doesn't have a broken schnoz. He's clowning around. You do that when you're in first place, and you got Dwight Gooden throwing the heat up there. That was Gooden striking out the first man he faced. That was the only strikeout for the King of K. As Darryl Strawberry looks on, he's out 4 to 6 weeks, and he watched his replacement, Danny Heap, hit his first homer of the year. So Heap fills in quite admirably, stakes New York to a 2-run lead, which they never lost. Jesse Orozco came in. Gooden did not have overpowering stuff, but Orozco sure did have the curveball going. Jesse struck out.
Nothing lead now over Joe Niekro. Top of the 5th, the Mets lead at 3-1. Mookie Wilson will single to right field. Dwight Johnny B. Gooden on board, doing his part of the bases, scores 4-1. But bottom of the 5th, the Astros aren't all awed. Terry Swimming Pool, the base hit to right. Kevin Bass will slide home safely. It's a 4-2 game. Bottom of the 7th, here come the Stros again. Terry Poole will single it. It'll drop in front of Mookie Wilson in center field. Bill Doran will come home. It's a 4-3 game. In comes Jesse Orozco in relief. He's already fanned Enos Cabell. Now he gets on the big looping curveball. Jose, can you see Cruz? Orozco came on to shut the door down. The Mets got an insurance run, and the Mets beat the Houston Astros 5-3, as we mentioned. Good in
8 innings as Cincinnati beat the Expos by a score of 2-1. Didn't look like it was going to start too well for him, though. Price delivers. UL Washington delivers the drive to right over Dave Parker's head. Dan Dreesen comes around to score. Montreal leads it by a score of 1-0, much to the delight of the home folks. But Cincinnati evened the count in the 5th inning. Eddie Milner will slap a base hit into center field off Bryn Smith. That brings Ron Oster home, and the game is tied at 1. 2 hitters later, Dave Parker, sharp drive on the right side. Into right field, Milner scores to make it 2-1 Cincinnati, and Joe Price took over thereafter. Watch him get Tim Wallach here. He combined with Ted Power to retire the last 21 Expos in order. The register is a 3-hitter, and Cincinnati a winner behind Joe Price's fun.
Serves it up to Terry Harper, and he jacks it deep to left field. And it's a home run at the launching pad, his 2nd of the year. And the Atlanta Braves go on to nip the Phillies, coming from a 2-0 deficit to win it 3-2.
Manager in baseball at age 35, but the least experienced. It obviously doesn't box with Bud Harrelson, 13 years a shortstop with the Mets. The 40-year-old Harrelson was managing the Mets Class A team in Columbia of the South Atlantic League. Elsewhere in
Don't LaPointe, but he serves up one home run. They go into extra innings, and, I mean, they just can't hit the ball. So sooner or later they're going to lose, and they did it. The Mets in New York, 3-2 in 12 innings. Now, here we go. Top of the first, no score. Giants on a hit and run. Dan Mann from Gladden going to take off on the shot by Manny Kingston trio. Mookie Wilson, I guess, has a little problem out there. You score at E8 at home. Gladden scores 1-0 in the first. Mets avoid the big inning, though. Here's the shot. Nailed by Keith Hernandez on the base knock by Chili Davis. They throw to the pitcher in time. Then Chris Brown up, the little looper down the right field line, and this is why Hernandez wins Gold Glove after Gold Glove. So he keeps the Giants at bay, only getting one run. Now here's that home run in the 7th inning. Ray, I dub thee night. 2-run homer off of Dave Don't LaPointe. We are tied at 2, and we go all the way to the bottom of the 12th. Scott Geraltz is pitching. Wally Backman is on base. Gary Carter, line shot to right center field. Wally, you ain't seen nothing yet. Backman scores the winning run, an unearned run at that, because he got on an error, but the Mets win it just the same. They're 4-0 in extra inning games. They win it by the score of 3-2. Nice relief work by Roger McDowell again.
Well, this won't happen too often.
In just a moment, right after this message from Mitsubishi Motors.
Well, the Mets began an 8-game road trip through the West this afternoon. They were at Candlestick Park in San Francisco taking on the Giants. The Giants jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the first. 2 of those runs scored on this double by Gary Razich. It stayed 3-0 until the 8th inning. Then Mookie Wilson got things going for the Mets with this single. Wally Backman scored, and it was 3-1. Later in the inning, Gary Carter came up, kept the rally going with this double. 2 runs scored, and the game was tied at 3. Then George Foster got the game winner, this single that brought Carter home. The Mets scored 4 runs in the 8th, coming from behind to beat the Giants 4-3. Even more good news for the Mets this afternoon. That's because the Cubs lost. Cincinnati shutting them out 1-0. That means the Mets lead Chicago by 1.5 games in the National League East. Well, there were no games this afternoon in the American League.
Dwight Gooden strikes out 14 San Francisco Giants and picks up his 7th win of the year. A 2-1 New York victory as they sweep this brief 2-game series in San Francisco with a pair of 1-run victories. Gooden is now 7-3 on the year and now has 90 strikeouts to lead Nolan Ryan. Actually, he has 89, I should say, to lead Nolan Ryan, the losing pitcher, and is now 2-2 on the year. We'll be back with a wrap-up.
There's a little bit of Mets in everyone. Go for the challenge, go for the fun. Catch the rising stars, catch the rising stars. The Mets for all the world to see. The Mets are part of you and me. Catch the rising stars.
As you go along.
Well, usually you set yourself a pace. You go out and try to, in your mind, you think I'm going 7, and then after that, the relievers come in, or if you're going good and got some runs for cushion, you go head on. So I just try to go, 5 and coasting, but make good pitches, and then at the end, just all I got left in me, let it go.
And you told me something interesting. Mel Stottlemyre, the pitching coach, said if one man got on in the 9th inning, you were out of there, huh?
Fans of all ages, even in San Francisco. Look at the kid. Top of 5, George Foster shot to left field. This thing's in the seats. Number 7 for George. Mets lead 1-0. Following inning, Gary Carter at the plate. You got Mookie at second, drives a single to center here. No play at home, turns out to be the game-winning ribby. Now, the doc is throwing bullets all day long. 9th inning versus Jeff Leonard, and Jeff has no chance. And they've even got themselves a K corner in Frisco. See the guy out there with the card? Dwight strikes out the side in the 9th. His 14th and final victim, Alex Trevino.
The first-place Mets beat the Padres 7-3. Rookie Calvin Schiraldi combining with back from the dead Doug Sisk on a 5-hitter. 2-2 in the third, a wacky play. Carter bounced to Nettles. Backman in a rundown. Nettles tagged Hernandez trying to make third. Threw to Shaw at the plate. The pitcher's throw back to Nettles off his glove for an error. Templeton alertly to second base to get Carter. Backman scored on the play. Score it. 5-2 to 5. 1-5-6-4. Okay. 6th inning, Gary Carter with Keith Hernandez on base. A 2-run homer for Carter, his 6th of the season. 5-2 Mets. In the 8th inning, Danny Heap followed a walk with a shot into the right field seats. First base umpire Fred Brocklander waved foul. Heap and the Mets started yelling, the ball was 10 feet fair. When was the last time you saw this? Watch. Plate umpire Ed Montague overruled Brocklander. Yes, it was a 2-run homer. Sisk was so bad recently he was demoted to AAA. Today, Doug pitched 4 innings of shutout relief for his second save. Schiraldi is 2-0. The Mets won it 7-3. Vida Blue is wise. The one-time MVP and Cy Young Award winner pitched 5 strong innings. Blue sat out last season, suspended by Commissioner Bowie Kuhn because of drug use. Vida signed with the Giants this spring as a free agent. While the Orioles pounded the A's 10-1, Wayne Gross smacked 2 homers, a 3-run shot here in the 5th, and in the bleachers, he kissed that baby goodbye again and again. Okay, let's check the scoreboard. Tonight, Houston beat Chicago 4-3. The Cubs trail the front-running Mets by...
Team going into tonight finally broke out of their slump. They went out, they tattooed the Phillies for 7 runs. Now, that is the good news. The other side of the equation, the Mets lost to the Phillies by the score of 26-7. Phillies with 26 runs, 27 hits, most ever in their history. That's the most hits and runs ever scored against the Mets. It began in the 1st inning. Von Hayes starting things off innocently enough, connecting off the Mets starter Tom Gorman. Hayes' 4th of the year, 1-0 Phils. Phils batted around, and here is Hayes again, belting it out off Calvin Schiraldi. Von Hayes, the first player in Major League history to hit 2 homers in the 1st inning of a ball game. 9-0 Phils, end of 1. Yes, it got worse. Mike Schmidt going deep left center field. This a double, scoring 2 more. 16-0 Philly at the end of 2. Schiraldi giving way to Sisk after 10 Philly runs on 9 hits, and then Sambito came on, took his lumps. A delightful evening for Met manager Dave Johnson and pitching coach Mel Stottlemyre. The Phillies setting a host of team records, but did fall short of most runs in a game. 2 Americans
scored in the National League since 1944. You've heard it. The Phillies 26 and the Mets 7. Massacre begins in the 1st. Phils score 9 times. Von Hayes, an inning to remember. Solo blast here to start the game. Philadelphia leads it 1-0. They bat around. And here's Hayes again. Phils are just getting warmed up. Believe me, it was much worse than that. 26 runs, 27 hits. The Mets pitching staff will attempt to lower their ERA just a little bit tonight. Darling goes up against Carlton.
And again to shallow right field. Backman this time now being called off by Pachorik and Protic over the Padres. 12-3 after 8. Now here's a word from Nissan.
13 aces when we pick it up.
The golden opportunity for the New York Mets to pull to within 1 game of the front-running Redbirds in the National League East, and it looks like they're well on their way. They're playing at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, and they're very close to victory. They're playing the 9th inning now, and the Mets are leading at 12-3. They got 6 in the first 2 innings and then 6 more in the 7th and 8th as they racked a rookie making his first Major League appearance, Bob Patterson. Ray Knight and Keith Hernandez with home runs. Tony Gwynn had a solo job for the San Diego Padres. So New York leading that game 12-3. Should they win it, they'll be within 1 game of the...
That time, John McSherry said Nettles did offer. And it's a fly ball into... No, it isn't even going to get out of the infield. Again, he pops up tonight, and the game is over. Sid Fernandez picks up his first complete game victory in the major leagues. Only his 2nd career complete game and only his 6th victory of the year against 8 losses, even though he came into the game with a fine 2.75 ERA.
Fire these days, and they have burned the Padres in their last 2 games. The Mets have totaled 29 hits in their last 2 wins in San Diego, and last night, Gary Carter alone provided more offense than the entire Padres team. Jerry Azar was there.
Gary Carter was batting cleanup for the Mets, and oh, did Carter clean up on the San Diego Padres. Gary hits 3 home runs, 6 RBIs as the Mets beat San Diego 8-3. Carter got the Mets and himself started in the first. With 1 on, Gary takes this Dave Dravecky pitch to left field, 2-0 Mets. That's 1. Just about an instant replay in the 4th. Same batter, same pitcher, same spot, 3-0 Mets. That's 2. In the 5th, it is Carter time again. With 2 teammates aboard, Gary connects up Luis De Leon and there's number 3. With the Mets up now 7-1 in the game, everyone anticipating Carter's next at-bat.
You came up to the plate for your 4th time at bat. Were you looking long ball?
Well, you got to be thinking about it at that time. Obviously, the ground and hit into the double play.
There's one final chance in the 9th. 2 on, 2 out. If Keith Hernandez reaches, Gary gets a final chance. But it's no-go as Hernandez strikes out. Did Gary want one final crack?
It would have been a thrill to have another opportunity at it because those kind of opportunities don't come very often, and it would have been a thrill to have made a record book like that.
Guys, we're very professional about that. You know, there's something to be said about the professionalism that they exhibited. I know Schiraldi definitely didn't like what was going on out there, and Sam Vito didn't like it, but they were professional about the way they handled it.
We wish you could have just divided them up over their earlier games, and, you know, we'd be a lot better off in the standings. But, you know, it's good for the morale to come out.
This could end the misery. And the 4-6-3 double play does it.
26 runs, 27 hits, and only 20...
Time leader in home runs in this ballpark with 20. You had another one tonight. You had 4 base hits, 2 singles, a double, 2 RBIs. What more could you do?
Well, Timmy, I feel great about these. These are the ones that you want to relish upon because the first part of the season has been a little bit tough, and with all the injuries and all that we've gone through, and I've been struggling a little bit lately, just like everybody else, but it seemed like we broke out tonight, having 18 hits. With that thrashing that we took last night, it was a big game for us. There's no question about it. So if I can just help the Cubbies are playing good ball as well.
Yep. What is it about this place? Why do you hit so well here?
Well, Timmy, you know, you played here a lot, too. It's a great background. It's an outstanding surface to hit on. The ball carries like gangbusters here. And what more can I say than I've had a lot of success here.
All right. The Mets did better tonight, but their follies continue. Through 9 innings, they out-hit Philadelphia 14-3. Still at 1 extra innings, they wound up winning at 7-3. Here's how Philadelphia came up with their 3 runs in the 4th inning. Glenn Wilson's fly ball. Danny Heap in center misplays it and just stands there while everybody else tries to chase the ball down. By the time they track it down, Wilson will come all the way around with an inside-the-park 3-run homer. And here's some more Mets defense. They made 3 errors, simple comebacker, simple throw over first base, and the guys had 3 errors for the Mets. Now, Heap redeemed himself from the play in center. Here's the 2-run homer in the 8th inning by Danny Heap that tied it 3-3. And in the 11th inning, after Hernandez tripled, Gary Carter, his 4th hit of the game, also hit a homer, drove in Hernandez, 4-3 Mets. Then Christensen hit a 2-run homer. Mets won at 7-3. Aguilera got the win. Yankees and Blue Jays also extra innings. Bottom of the 10th inning.
26 home runs and 90.
Opening the big Cubs series, Darling outdueled Sutcliffe. Bottom of the 4th, here's Gary Carter, and just like that, it's the game-winning hit. Home run off of Sutcliffe into the bullpen. It was 1-0 Mets. 5th inning, it's Danny Heap, who was playing for the injured Mookie. Heap dumps it down the left field line. Look at Backman running there, tries to score all the way from first base. Here comes the throw. The throw actually beats him, but Davis can't hang on. It's 2-0. Now, 9th inning, Ron saves the tying run. He flies out Darling all the way, a 5-hitter. So the Mets win it 2-zip, 6 straight losses for the Cubs. Here's Darling.
I just wanted to go out there and keep throwing the game.
The Mets extended the Cubs' losing ways to 7 in a row. Beat them 5-1. It was 1-0 Chicago when Gary Carter evened it up in the bottom of the 1st. Base hit scores Mookie Wilson, tying it at 1. Mets later added another in the inning. They were up 3-1 in the 5th when Carter steps to the plate, and he does it again.
Single scores Kelvin Chapman to make it a 5-1 Mets lead, and that was the final tonight at Shea. Elsewhere
again tonight. Gary Carter, Ed Lynch, the Stars. 5-1 is the final score. And talk about a tear. This is Carter hitting everything in sight in the first. Shoots one out to right center. That's Mookie on it.
The Flyers instrumental in Philly's rise to the Stanley Cup final. Now he...
You know, they're playing great.
They sure are.
It was a good ball game. Everybody real happy about it, especially if you're a Mets fan tonight. That showdown with Chicago, so far it is all Mets. Third straight win tonight, 53,000 at the stadium. Dwight Gooden, the shutout, 1-0, the final score. Now, you talk about some crazy fans. Biggest crowd in 8 years. Some people even in trees tonight. Fourth inning, Doc in trouble. Men on the corners, one out. Thad Bosley, ground ball right back at Dwight. Throws to second for one. The relay in time. Double play. Inning is over. Bottom of 4. Key pitch. Howard Johnson. The curveball from Sanderson. Watch the ump, Frank Pulley, about to call strike 3. Does not pull the trigger. Jim Fry can't believe it. Hojo has new life. Couple pitches later. Ground ball to short. Cubs go for 2. Out at second. Safe at first. Hernandez comes across. The game's only run. Finally, 9th inning, Cubs get 2 men on, nobody out. But the Doc gets out of it, strikes out Bosley to end the game. Final score, 1-0.
Well, it was a big game for us, try to, get some games going and get things rolling our way. Not only just because of the Cubs, but, just get things back on the right track.
All right, Montreal tonight beats Pittsburgh.
Get the feeling. 5-3 Mets win it this afternoon, so the Mets sweep the series, allow the Cubs only 4 runs in the 4 games. Cubs have now lost 9 in a row. The series, by the way, drew a Met Club record of 172,000 fans. Let's go to the videotape. Bottom of the 4th, bases loaded, 2 outs. Fontenot's 0-1 pitch to Foster, who was 1 for 18, by the way. Boom! There it goes. Make it 2 for 19, his 12th career grand slam, 4-1 Mets. John Christensen, the next batter, and boom! You've got it. Home run, John. That made it 5-1. Mets win it 5-3. Fernandez, the winner, struck out 10 and 6
victims. That's a personal high for Fernandez. Mets win it 5-3.
Being able to get 4 runs with 1 swing is a plus for us. And
4-game series from the Cubs. The big bats doing the job today. It was the 3rd inning. They wrapped this one up for the Mets. Bases loaded. George Foster, no out. Sends this one over the right center field wall. 4-1 Mets. And for good measure, John Christensen came right behind George. He, too, banged one for the long ride. 5-1 Mets. They led it. They went on to win it 5-3. Sid Fernandez and Roger McDowell combining for the win. Other action, Pittsburgh beating Montreal. That means the Mets are only...
With a wild pitch, Foster scores. It's close at the plate, but he's safe. That tied it up at 3 apiece. The Mets added another run to go ahead 4-3. And here's that man again, Mookie Wilson. Ball hits the rail. Ball players call this a rail skimmer. Still counts as a home run. They're in the 8th right now, and the Mets lead by a score of 5-3.
It away, so 1-2 to Hubie Brooks.
The new compact Desk Pro 280.
Rip to left. But Tim Raines is there and hauls in the line drive.
Yep, as the Cardinals are winning 7-3, bottom of the 8th.
The middle base hit. Knight rounding third. He will score. Santana goes to third. And the Mets lead at 6-3 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Runners at first and third. Mookie with 4 RBIs on the night.
Detroit. In fact, leading even now as we speak. The Mets are hosting the Expos at Shea this weekend for the first time this baseball season. The Expos lead the Eastern Division, but the Mets lead the game, and with the sweep, the Mets could be solidly in first place come Monday. This is how the game looked early on. The Mets had trouble making contact, but here in the 5th they get rolling. John Christensen with the double to left. In the corner, George Foster was on. He went around to third, and the Mets finally had something started here. It had trouble getting hits. Mookie Wilson got it finished. A 2-strike, 2-out single right here. Scores Foster. He was looking for the fastball all the way. That scores Foster and Christensen, and the Mets lead the Expos 2-0. I won't bore you with explanations, but it was 3-2 Expos in the 6th when the Mets played alert. Mickey Mailer here with a wild pitch. Foster comes in to score, and that ties the game at 3-3. Then the very next batter is Rafael Santana. Watch him here. He will come through with a double to left. That scored Christensen again, and the Mets led again 4-3. Mookie Wilson has since added a solo homer and another RBI. He has 4 tonight, and the Mets lead 6-3 in the 9th. Other scores.
Season in relief are assured of at least a tie for first place in the National League East. The Mets have won 5 games in a row and have defeated the first place Montreal Expos here tonight With St. Louis playing the Cubs in St. Louis, it could be a tie for first place in the East once again. Doug Sisk is 2-5 on the year, and Mickey Mailer, the starter and loser for Montreal, is 1-1. Tim and I'll be right back.
Stadium was basking in the glow of the fired-up Expos, who exploded against former Expo Gary Carter and his New York Mets mates. In Game 1, the sweet sound of victory came in the bottom of the ninth when Dan Dreesen stepped up with 2 out and the score tied. Dreesen's third RBI of the game put Montreal on top 5-4 and sent the Mets to their 8th loss in 10 games. Next night, Montreal again got a kick out of their hitting, down 2-0 when Vance Law came up in the 4th and laid down the law, cutting the lead in half with a home run. The Expos later tied the game, and in the bottom of the ninth, with a man on, Hubie Brooks had a chance to beat his former team. That did it. A 3-2 win as Montreal handed the Mets their 7th straight one-run loss, serving notice that the Expos are in the race to stay.
I think this ball club starting off was kind of hesitant, and then...
Number 9 and RBI number 35, both tops on the team. Mickey Mailer was on the mark, pitching 4 innings of one-run ball as Montreal swept the Mets for a 5-game winning streak to take over first place in the East.
The end of 2. It's the Mets 2 and the Cubs 1. 3-2 pitch, and it's inside. So Backman walks as he leads off here in the 3rd inning. But Say doesn't even attempt to make a play at second base. The curveball slips out of the hand. 1-0 pitch to Hernandez, and he hits it into left field. Matthews is...
About the fans on top of the players, it's all right if the team's having a real good season to have the fans on.
That's kind of unbelievable with the wind blowing out most of the time. Bill Nicholson came close to that scoreboard back in the early 40s, and Roberto Clemente almost hit it.
Yeah, I heard about Roberto Clemente. Better not Dwight Gooden. Gooden leading off. Nolan must have lost it, and he drops the ball. And Dwight Gooden hustling to second base. Well, Lenny Dykstra hustled on a routine fly ball to right field, and he ended up scoring. Dwight, the pitcher. Sanderson picks it up, and it's very close at first base. Wow.
Breaking ball is inside. Grounded to first. Off the glove of Hernandez. For Gooden, this ball game's over. Boy, did Hernandez recover quickly. Gooden taking nothing for granted, covering first, and Dwight Gooden wins his first game here at Wrigley Field. That makes him 2-0 against the Chicago Cubs this year, and the Chicago Cubs have now lost 13 in a row, matching their longest losing streak since 19...
So our MasterCard.
Their longest streak is reached 13 straight, matching a team record set in 1944, matched in 1982. The Mets, a game out of first place. Chicago is 5 away. Dwight Gooden scattered 8 hits, struck out 6, walked 3, posted his 5th consecutive win for an 11-3 record. At Wrigley Field today, a crowd of 36,000, faster than you can say, who's that? The Mets got a big break in the first inning. Len Dykstra's fly ball to right field off Scott Sanderson, lost in the sun by Keith Moreland, or was he watching her? Anyway, no error, Dykstra with a gift triple, and he scored on Keith Hernandez's sacrifice fly. Later in the first inning, Gary Carter at the plate. Bang! Kiss that baby goodbye. The Mets ahead 2-0 on Gary's 10th homer deep to the bleachers. The Cubs got a run in their half of the first before Leon Durham bounced into an odd double play involving everyone in the infield except the catcher. Gooden forced the lead runner Ryan Sandberg to a rundown, and Durham was caught between first and second. Score it 1-5 to 6 to 3 to 4, and the Mets out of the inning. In the Mets' 4th, Howard Johnson with a monster solo shot out of Wrigley Field. His second homer, the Mets ahead 3-1. The Cubs managed another run off Gooden in the 7th, but the doctor notched his 7th complete game with help from Keith for the last out. 3-2 Mets. Cubs manager Jim Fry suffering through his team's 13-game losing streak.
I don't know what else to say about it. When I go home at night, I feel the same way. I mean, I go home at night and try to figure out if there's something that I can do to turn it around.
George Foster of the New York Mets put his power swing to work to beat the Cubs 5-3 with his 12th career grand slam. Oakland's Dave Kingman leads all active players with 14. The all-time mark is held by Lou Gehrig with 23. Proved that he was far from rusty at the plate when he slammed a pinch hit 3-run homer against the Expos. That blast was career pinch hit number 94, 12th on the all-time list. It was also career pinch hit home run number 8. Now, for this week's quiz, can you name the player who holds the Major League record for most career pinch hit home runs? Stay tuned for a recent record setter.
Mets woes, and the answer is no. Tonight they played Pittsburgh at Shea. Sid Fernandez pitched very well, walked 2 men, and gives up a double to Marvell Wynn. That's the only run scored in the ball game. Here's my argument with Davey Johnson. Runners on first and second, nobody out. There's the bunt by Danny Heap. Why not try it twice? No, he doesn't. So Heap lines it to left field, no advance. Hernandez hits a long drive to left center field. Does a run score? No, because there's nobody on third base. You know how many times the Mets have left runners on first and second, second and third, second and third, third? They made Rick Russell look like Walter Johnson tonight, and they lost it by a score of 1-0. After the ball game, we got a call from the Mets. Mookie Wilson will be on the 21-day disabled list. He's going in for arthroscopic.
Beating the Pirates 5-4. The Mets struggling at the plate. They took additional batting practice today. They did not exactly knock the fences down tonight, but showed signs of coming out of it. Earlier, we had asked batting coach Bill Robinson if it's become an embarrassment for him.
Not embarrassed.
Slumping Keith Hernandez, getting right to it. First inning as he puts one to the wall. Mets had 9 hits tonight. This an RBI double. Christensen comes around to score. Mets off to a 2-0 lead. And Darryl Strawberry with his first extra base hit since his return. He goes to right center, a double to score Carter from first. Mets in front 5-1. Pirates did come back. Rookie Sam Khalifa with a drive to the right field corner. Now watch the relay. You will see an intriguing throw right here by Kelvin Chapman, who actually tried to hold up, and then he lost the handle. Good one, though, tonight for Ron Darling. Mets do it over the Pirates 5-4.
What a game this was. 8th inning, Mets leading 6-4. Keith Hernandez delivers a home run to right field, 7-4 Mets. Keith hit for the cycle on the night, a single, double, triple, and home run. But in the bottom of the 8th, 7-5 Mets, bases loaded for Dale Murphy. He delivers a 3-run double to left center off Doug Sisk. That'll clear the bases. Braves take the lead, 8-7. But Mets come back in the top of the 9th. Lenny Dykstra up, ground ball to first base. Watch the effort by Dykstra, diving head first to first base, beats the throw to the bag. It's 8-8. They're all tied again. Then, in the 13th inning, Mets appear to have it won. Howard Johnson, batting right-handed, delivers a home run to left, a 2-run blast for Johnson. At an ungodly hour, it appears the Mets have it won.
Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care?
Obviously, the Braves didn't care what time it was. Bottom of the 13th, down to their last out. Terry Harper delivers a home run to left. This game is tied again, 10-10. Now, in the 18th inning, Mets leading 11-10. Again, Braves down to their last out. A weak-hitting pitcher, Rick Camp, is up. They can't pitch hit. They're out of players. Camp hits a home run to left, his first career home run to tie the game again, 11-11. Danny Heap can't believe it, nor can the crowd. Now, top of the 19th, Ray Knight, who had left 9 runners on base earlier in the game, leads a 5-run 19th inning for the Mets. Long drive to right field, past Claudell Washington. Gary Carter scores. Mets went up 16-11 in this inning. This time, the Braves got only 2 runs in their half. Bottom of the 19th, Mets had to have Ron Darling come in to pitch the final inning. He gets Rick Camp to strike out, final out of the game. After 6 hours and 10 minutes, Mets win. Longest game of the year. Fans gave the players a standing ovation. I did the singing there also. By the way, Gary Carter caught all 19 innings for the Mets. His knees must be shot today. Despite the marathon victory, the Mets gained no ground on the first-place Cards. They beat the Dodgers last night as Joaquin Andujar picked up his 14th win of the season. Cards played tough defense. Fifth inning action, Rick Honeycutt hits a grounder to Andujar while falling down, throws to Ozzie Smith. Great pick for the out, on to first, double play. Seventh inning now, score tied at 2 apiece. Pedro Guerrero rips a shot to the left side. Great leaping catch by Terry Pendleton for the out. That saves a run. And in the ninth, Andujar and the Cards leading 3-2. Terry Whitfield up for the Dodgers hits what looks like a sure double off the wall and left, but watch Vince Coleman plays it perfectly, throws a strike to second base. Whitfield is out of there. Cards win it 3-2 with defense. This afternoon in Chicago, Cubs versus Giants at Wrigley Field. Fourth inning, Jose Uribe up for the Giants. Short pop fly to center field. Nobody will get it. It falls in. 2-run score. Giants take a 3-2 lead. Strangest play of the game. Sixth inning, Scott Thompson. Long fly ball to right center field. Watch this. Off the wall. It gets caught up in the ivy at Wrigley Field. Moreland says, where is it? That's an automatic ground rule double. Right now, they're in
the fireworks after the ball game. The Mets could have stayed right here at the ballpark as they prepare for the second game of this 3-game series.
What a marvelous way to celebrate the 209th anniversary of this country with a sport, with a game in a sport so rich in tradition as the baseball game that we saw last night. 16-13, 19 innings, 28 hits by the New York Mets, and tonight Pascal Perez 0-5 on the year against Rick Aguilera, and they will try to stop the hot-hitting Braves and Mets.
And you think you've seen it all, and I saw so many things last night that I have never seen before. It just was a freak game, and just glad we came out on top.
Yeah, beginning with, I guess, with Rick Camp's home run, the most unlikely guy to tie the ball game up.
Well, you know, I made a comment to Fax that last year the Fax had trouble getting the pitchers out, and Fax had a good year for us last year, and a lot of pitchers got hits off him.
And here comes Eddie Haas out to the mound.
Right. Abducted, huh?
Took me to all the local spots around town.
Uh-huh.
There's a swing and a miss, and it's 1-2 and all throughout the area here.
You, of course, going against your will that
Absolutely
night, right?
kidnapped. Here's a 1-2 pitch in the dirt. Good play by Cerrone. Mets leading 4-0. 2 men on base. Another one in the dirt. Another good block by Cerrone. So Cerrone, after blocking 2, loses this one, and the Mets lead 5-0.
But now the 3-2 slider, or I beg your pardon, he did come up with the 3-2 slider he should come up with. So
when the Braves played the Mets.
It was supposed to start at 7:30 p.m. with a July 4th fireworks crowd of 45,000. But 2 long rain delays and some wild plays sent the game into extra innings and into the wee small hours. Keith Hernandez, for example, hit this ball that Dale Murphy never caught, but the umpire ruled it out. Hernandez wound up hitting for the cycle anyway. After 9 innings, it was tied 8-8. Top of the 13th, 2 outs. Howard Johnson hits a 2-run homer. Bottom of the 13th, 2 outs. Terry Harper hits a 2-run homer. Then in the top of the 17th, Darryl Strawberry and Davy Johnson both ejected. The Mets had already protested the game anyway. Top of the 18th, this Rick Camp error led to a Mets run. Bottom of the 18th, nobody to hit for Camp, so he hits for himself and belts his first Major League homer, 11-11 after 18. Top of the 19th, the Mets score 5 and go on to win at 16-13 in 19. And so at 4 a.m., 14 pitchers, 46 hits, and 8.5 hours after it was supposed to begin, it ended. And with most of the 45,000 fans long gone, it was now time for July 5th fireworks.
And that wasn't the only
less than 2 out, and George with a big 2-out base hit. That kind of erases what you know, if you don't pick the guy up from third and somebody picks you up, then you're inclined to forget about not picking him up at third.
Breaking ball low and
hit to right field. Comments going back, and he makes the catch.
Right to left field, Mickey Hatcher off the wall. Hatcher misjudged it.
New York swept a doubleheader from the Braves, winning the opener 4-0 in the nightcap, 8-5. Then the Eastern Division leading Cardinals, they took advantage. If you want to talk about a midsummer heat wave, check out that thermometer. Over 120 degrees on the AstroTurf, off of which Ozzie Smith, a high hopper, will go out into right field. In comes one run, in comes another run. Tudor and McGee score, the Cardinals with a lead. Here's an example of what's gone wrong with the Dodgers. Tommy Herr, a chopper back to the mound. Wild throw by Hershiser into center. Darling, the pitcher for the Mets. He takes the spotlight in the top of the 4th inning. Base hit to right field. Danny Heap going to try to score on Milt Thompson. The throw to the plate. Here comes Heap. He is, what do you say, out at home on the play. So it remained 1-0 with the Braves. Defensively, Darling was outstanding on the mound. Here, he leaps to rob Milt Thompson, throws the first in time to get his man. Top of the 6th inning, game's tied 2-2. Again, it's Ron Darling up. Darling with a grounder to Paul Zavella at short. Zavella with a throw to first. Low into the dirt. Chambliss can't find the handle. Chambliss looking for the ball. Here comes the go-ahead run. Knight is safe at home. The Mets go on to sweep the doubleheader from the Braves, winning that second game 8-5. Cubs
runs. Keith Hernandez went 4 for 5. Let's go to the videotape. Top of the 4th, 2-0 Reds, but not for long. Boom, Darryl Strawberry. First home run since coming back. Milner looks up. That cut it to 2-1. In the top of the 5th, 3-1 Reds. Keith Hernandez with 2 singles, a double, and a home run. Boom. Home run. Parker looks up, ties the game 3-3. Top of the 6th, 4-3, and Howard Johnson comes through. Max Venable goes back. That ties it at 4-4. Top of the 7th, 5-4 Mets, 1 on, and boom, George Foster with his 13th home run of the year makes it 7-4, and the Mets win it. Dale Murphy with his 21st Monday night, because in Cincinnati, the Mets now make it 8 in a row. 4 in the 8th, 4 in the 9th, beat the Reds 11-2. Gooden went 8 innings. He's now 12-3. Let's go to the videotape. Top of the 4th, George Foster, who homered last night, comes up tonight, and boom, second home run in 2 nights, 14th of the year, 327th career, 1-0 Mets. Top of the 5th, 1 on, and boom, Keith Hernandez, who homered last night, his second in 2 nights, 3-0 Mets. Then in the 8th inning, the Reds showed you how not to play. Santana fly ball to Parker. Come on, looks like Lester Holt out there. Then Gooden, one hopper back to the mound. Hume throws to the wrong man. Remember that? Written by Alfred Hitchcock. So at the halfway mark for the Mets, after 81 games, they're 46-35. However, the
Mets are playing. They're doing good.
Yeah, you know, as I get older, I think of how smart Casey Stengel really was. He knew what he was talking about back in '62 when he dubbed these guys the Amazing Mets. Either that or the Mets simply love the month of July. They're 9-1 this month, and the 9 have come in succession. 2-1, they beat the Reds tonight in Cincinnati, and here's the one. Dave Parker enjoying a fabulous season for the Reds, hits his 15th home run of the year. This ties it at 1 in the bottom of the 4th. Now, Keith Hernandez, who is, like his team, enjoying a fabulous July, doubles home the gamer in the top of the 5th. Kelvin Chapman races around to score from first. This was the hit which made
4, home of Hubble and the Giants. Here it is. First, he got Babe Ruth. Following Ruth, it was Lou Gehrig going down, then Jimmy Fox, and then Al Simmons and Joe Cronin. 5 of the greats in succession struck out by Carl Hubble, July 10th.
All right, the Mets make it 9 in a row, and it appears they have found the 5th starter. In Cincinnati tonight, 23-year-old Rick Aguilera does it again. The Mets beat the Reds 2-1. Let's go to the videotape. Top of the 4th, bases loaded, 2 outs, and Lenny Dykstra, who's looking good. There it goes, base hit right field. Foster scores, but Parker up with the ball. Here comes Strawberry. Throw to the plate. Strawberry is out at the plate. After Parker tied it 1-1, top of the 5th, Hernandez comes through again, doubles into left field. Hernandez went 7 for 10 in the series. Chapman scores, 2-1. Mets took the lead. And then Aguilera strikes out Allen nicely right here to end the game. So he goes all the way on a 6-hitter and did not walk a batter. 2 Mets, by the way, made the National League starting all-star team, Carter and Strawberry. Now, not to take anything away from Strawberry, but come on, give us a break, fans. Strawberry's played only 35 games all year, and he's only hitting .221. The fans picked Strawberry ahead of Willie McGee. All he's doing is leading the National League in hitting at .350. Here you got Pedro Guerrero with 21 homers, hitting .312. And what about the kid Coleman with 57 stolen bases? The fans certainly make it a popularity contest rather than based on merit, which is what it is supposed to be. All right.
Raphael hitting .250 for the year. He's batted .305 in his last 31 ball games to get that average up to .250. Infield back, and this one topped up first base.
Astros, they've now won 10 of their last 11 baseball games in the National League East. Scoreless game, top of the second. Darryl Strawberry leads things off. Off Joe Niekro. Zippo, deep center. It is gone. 1-0 Mets with the lead. After the Astros will tie the game at 1, Mets had another run in inning number 5. With a man on third, Wally Backman lifts a fly ball to center. It drives Kevin Bass back enough to allow Lenny Dykstra to hustle home, and it's 2-1 Mets. Astros kill a Mets rally later in the 5th inning. Gary Carter hits this smash. Watch the play by Denny Walling. Great dive to his left, comes up with the drive. Mets starter Ron Darling had a relatively easy night until 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, and Alan Ashby. Uh-oh, trouble, gone. Home run to right, solo shot. We're tied at 2. We go extras. In the top of the 10th, Mets have a man on. Rafael Santana slops this single to left. Howard Johnson hustled. He slapped it, too, in addition to slapping it. It is his 4th game winner of the year. The Mets go on to win.
But this epic was far from over. New York went ahead in the 18th, again pushing the Braves to the brink of defeat. Reliever Rick Camp had to bat, there being no pinch hitters left, and with 2 out, 2 strikes on Camp, well, you talk about the unexpected.
And he is at the deep left. Heat goes back. It is gone. Holy cow. Oh, my goodness. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That certifies this game as the wackiest, wildest, most improbable game in history.
Ray Knight reconfirmed that when he came up in the 19th. After stranding 10 runners earlier in the game, he doubled in the game winner. Ron Darling made a rare relief appearance and struck out Rick Camp on the 598th pitch, ending this 8-hour affair run. And Keith continued his comeback from a lengthy slump when the Mets moved on to Cincinnati. In a 3-game sweep of the Reds, Hernandez hammered 2 more homers for a total of 13 RBIs in 9 games as the surging Mets won.
The Mets in the 6th. He gets Danny Heap on a breaking ball low. He ended the game with 11.
I kind of rank it with 383 strikeouts from the standpoint that I think they both represent the fact that I've been durable, that I looked at the 383 strikeouts as a consistency factor, and the fact that I took good stuff out there just practically every start, and that I was durable that year, and I kind of look at 4,000 strikeouts the same way.
He talks of durability. Nolan Ryan's first Major League strikeout came almost 2.
The New York Mets got off to a running start in this one, getting 2 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, 4 more in the 5th, and 2 more in the 7th.
Back should be given the ball. The Mets' happy-go-lucky July rolls on. They're gunning for their 11th win in the last 12 games. In the top of the 8th, they lead the Astros 10-1 under the Astrodome. Ed Lynch started, involved in a play with Keith Hernandez, the gold glove with the stop, and the toss to Lynch, who tagged Fred Reynolds. Bang, bang play. Mark Knutson, a Nolan Ryan clone, smacked around in the 4th inning. Howard Johnson with an RBI single. Hojo, hearing all those Buddy Bell rumors, 7 for 12 in the series. George Foster whacked a bases-loaded double, cleared the bases. The Torrid Mets in the top of the 8th, leading 10-1 in Houston. Elsewhere in the National League, first place St. Louis beat first place San Diego 7-3. Took the ball on the helmet. Fitzgerald, thankfully, was not hurt. There were some anxious moments here. Both benches slowly crept out, but there was no brawl. The umpires kept things under control. Later in the game, Jeff Reardon threw at a red, and he was ejected from the game, and that was his angry response.
But he draws the base on balls. Strike 2. But it's ripped down the line. Hooking foul. That beat. Here is the Mets dugout. All heads moving at once following the flight of the baseball. 3-2 again. And he swings at a low pitch, and he's out of there. And Gooden strikes out 11. And the Mets win it 1-0. The dugout empties to congratulate the doctor, who has now won 13 games against only 3 losses. His 8th complete game and 4th shutout of the year. He strikes out double figures for his 21st time.
Their 11-game road trip.
And what a trip it's been. The best in Mets history. Davy Johnson's men won 10 of 11. When you count tonight's win against the Astros by a score of 1-0, Dwight Gooden on the mound for the Mets to pick up his 13th win of the year, striking out 11 and holding the Astros to just 5 hits. Dwight Gooden simply magnificent all night long, doing it not just with the fastball, but also the curve off the table. How in the world you hit that? 8th inning, the Mets got the break they needed. Reynolds on second, Dykstra on first. Kelvin Chapman, ground ball to third. Should be a double play, but Bill Doran, bad throw to first. Chapman kicks the ball into right field. Reynolds scored. Jerry Mumphrey held the ball in the outfield. He waits, watch him right here. Finally, he throws home. Chapman foolishly tried to score. He's out at the plate. Still, the Mets led 1-0. And that's all the doctor needed. Gooden still throwing heat in the 9th inning, getting his 11th strikeout to end the game. Kevin Bass the victim. It was Gooden's 4th shutout, 8th complete game, 21st time Gooden in double-digit strikeouts for his career. The Mets beat Houston 1-0. Dwight Gooden 13-3. The Mets now trail St. Louis by 2.5.
Chuck, the second half of the season starts tomorrow, and just like the old days, the Yankees have picked up some help for the stretch run. Assuming, of course, there's no strike and there is a stretch run. Neil Allen comes back to New York from St. Louis for a minor leaguer to be named later and other considerations. If he can pitch the way he did with the Mets, he could become the stopper, and some fans hope that would allow Righetti back into the starting rotation. From 80 to 82, Allen picked up 59 saves with the Mets. He was traded to St. Louis for Keith Hernandez, and fans there didn't like that. Then this year, he was supposed to replace Bruce Sutter, and that failed, and fans didn't like that. So leaving St. Louis could lift a big weight off his shoulders. He will be with the Yankees tomorrow afternoon in Minnesota, while the Mets reopen at Shea tomorrow night with the Braves. So why does the National League always win the All-Star game, you ask? Dave, win the game.
Mets opened a 14-game homestand at Shea tonight, taking the first of 4 with Atlanta. 7-6 was the final. Watch this catch in the 3rd by Lynn Dykstra in center. No outs and a runner on. Terry Harper off Ron Darling. Dykstra diving to his left. The Mets came up with 5 runs in the 5th off loser Rick Mailer with the bases full. Darryl Strawberry singled to score Darling and Wally Backman, and that tied it at 4. There were 8 errors in this game. Howard Johnson popped one behind the mound with the bases loaded again in the 5th. Ken Oberkfell dropped it. 2 more scored. Darling went 6 to get his 10th win. Jesse Orozco got the save, his 9th. And good news regarding Gary Carter. The Mets catcher took batting practice tonight. He'll start tomorrow night, although surgery on his damaged right knee seems inevitable when the season ends. Now, here's the rest of the results from the National League. Second half of the season this afternoon in Minnesota, where they lost the first of 4 with the Twins. 8-4 was the final. This is the start.
There were errors. Mr. Ramirez with an error there for Atlanta. Howard Johnson with 3 errors. That was one throwing error. Where you throwing the ball, Howard? You got to throw it to first base. Howard Johnson, again, to third base, off his glove. Somebody has to fix his glove. I don't know if they ever got it fixed. Whoop, error number 3 on Howard Johnson, and so it went. The score was tied at 4 apiece, and this shot goes up. Ken Oberkfell comes in to grab it, fly ball, nothing to it, right? No, 2-run score for the Mets, and that makes it 6-4. New York, they made it 7-4 rather, as Johnson gets a single to drive in Darryl Strawberry. Bob Horner did come up with a 2-run home run to make it close, 7-6, but that's as close as they get. Mets win an error-filled game. Final score is 7-6. St. Louis against Los Angeles, third inning.
Doing business, and Dale Murphy, with one on in the first, does the first bit of business. Doubles off the wall and left, driving in his 70th run of the season, and it's 1-0 Atlanta. And then you're going to see some great defense that helped it stay that way. Top of the third, a man on. Terry Harper loops one into right center. Watch the catch by Lynn Dykstra. Super diving catch, but in the bottom of the third, it's Glenn Hubbard's time to rob Dykstra of a shot. And then the Braves defense fell apart. Rafael Ramirez misplays this one. A 10-year-old could have done that, a routine one hopper. That led to a run. And then in the bottom of the fifth, the floodgates open. 2 outs, bases loaded, score tied at 4. Watch this. Who's going to take it? It should have been the shortstop calling for it. Oberkfell can't get it. And a run scores on their way to a 7-2.
Set for the final meeting between the Mets and Atlanta in this regular season play. And the Mets have played 3 games against the Atlanta Braves. They have moved to 1/2 game back of the St. Louis Cardinals in the National League East. In the 3 games with the Braves, the Mets played an ugly ball game and won it 7-6. The Mets played a pretty ball game and lost it 1-0. And they played a pretty ball game yesterday when they scored 16 runs, the most they have scored in a 9-inning ball game.
Big factors in his being comfortable is coming to the park in the right frame of mind.
Well, I felt real comfortable coming into yesterday. It was it was just one of those days where I came to the park and I felt I was going to do some great things.
Mental approach to the game is very, very important.
This ball just kept carrying. Murphy looked a couple of times. He couldn't believe it was going to go out, and it went right over dead center field. That's a long way in this ballpark.
And a hit.
Before. I've seen him hit the base of the scoreboard where the advertising signs are, but Claudell's ball is well up on the scoreboard. His triple and a home run. Boy, I'll tell you, he went down and got that ball as so many left-handers can. You won't see this ball hit the scoreboard. That's above where the camera's looking. I mean, that ball.
And he dropped the first ball, hit his way, and he said, "You got this position so messed up, nobody can play it."
Carter, ripped to left, to base hit. Backman chugging around third, will head for home. The throw will not be in time as Horner cuts it off, and the Mets now lead it 14-9. Scored more runs in 2 consecutive games than they ever have in their history, with the 16 yesterday and the 14 so far here. Hojo reaches out and punches one to short left center, throw way off the mark.
And then how about when you started the ball game, did Davy Johnson ask you how long he thought he wanted you to go?
No, I played for Davy for a couple of years before.
Scoring by a score of 1-0. And Howard, you got a tough pitcher in the mound in Perez.
Yeah, he got behind me 1-0. You can see Cerrone wanting to throw the ball outside, and he got a fastball in a little bit too much. And that's one thing I've been trying to do is hit down on the ball and drive it, and that's what I've been doing lately.
Foster was on base. He had walked with 2 men out. So the Mets now get the lead by a score of 2-1. Johnson getting the game-winning RBI. In the bottom of the 3rd inning, Wally Backman triples down the right field line, and Dykstra, who had grounded into a force play after a single by Terry Leitz, scores all the way from first base, and the Mets are leading by a score of 3-1. Next batter for the Mets in the bottom of the 3rd inning, Keith Hernandez. And Keith right here comes up with RBI number 47. Gets a shot by Chris Chambliss, and Hernandez dives into second. And on the play, the Mets take the lead by a score of 4-1. Now it's a slicing base hit by Keith Hernandez down in the left field area. Ball fielded by the left fielder, Terry Harper. Dykstra scores on the play, and Hernandez goes in with a double. Now Strawberry comes up with a base hit. He singles up the middle. Hernandez, who is on second base, scores. And it is the 10th run batted in for Strawberry in this series. He had 7 of them last night. Here's Foster with a 3-run home run to make it a 9-1 ball game. It's straightaway center field. It hits the flagpole, as a matter of fact, 410 feet away, as Murphy is unable to catch it. Foster with a 3-run home run there. In the top of the 6th inning, Dale Murphy came up, and Murphy gets his 24th home run. He leads the National League in that department as he, too, takes it over the center field wall, just a shade to the right of the 396 mark. That makes it a 9-3 ball game. Houston had scored a run just prior to the home run by Murphy. In the top of the 7th inning, Harper makes it close as he has a 3-run home run. And this makes it a 9-7 ball game as Harper gets a home run right here for the Atlanta Braves. And the Mets had a 9-1 lead cut to 9-7, and things look tough for the New York Mets. But George Foster takes care of that as he doubles over the head of Murphy in center field. And on the play, the Mets get 2 more runs, and Foster gets his 4th and 5th runs batted in. He was 3 for 3 for the day. So Foster, a big day. Now it's the bottom of the 7th inning, and it's Johnson now with a little ball off the glove of the shortstop, Zabella, and he's charged with an error. That's really a tough charging error right there. He should not have been given an error in the play. It was the left fielder's ball, but he had to take it because the left fielder wasn't there. Now Chapman, as a pinch hitter, comes up and he singles the center field. This makes it a 13-7 ball game as Johnson comes in to score. In the top of the 8th inning, Washington is the batter, and Claudel gets his 3rd home run against the Mets this year. They have all been hit hard, and here is Washington with one that hits off of the scoreboard. It's been hit a few times before, but not too often. Home run number 10 for Claudel Washington with Cerrone on base. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Carter gets an RBI single as he singles the left field, and Wally Backman comes in to score. That makes it a 14-9 ball game. A final run for
day of the year against the Mets. The Stros are up 2-0 against Ronnie Darling, a Danny Heath error. And the smash by Alan Ashby. That's Mumphrey scoring 3-0 Houston. Then Herman Rivera, the batter, takes this one to left center field, and that'll bring in Glenn Davis, who had a couple of RBIs on the day. Astros up 4-0. The Mets did get some offense off of Joe Niekro. That's Darryl Strawberry, a laser to the bullpen. He had 2 2-run homers. This one makes it a Houston 4-2 lead, but the Astros strike again in the 4th. The bases are full. Jerry Mumphrey dumps this one in front of George Foster. 1 run comes in. It's 5-2. Watch this play now. It's 6-2, Houston leading. Mark Bailey to the right side. Wally Backman, Danny Heap. Who's going to get it? Nobody is going to get it. San Vitus dance. Jose Cruz comes in. Astros with 12 runs, their biggest day of the year, winning at 12-4. Niekro, a complete game 8-hitter.
Well, 4 RBIs, not nearly enough. Astros 12, the Mets 4, and the loss drops the Mets 3.5 back of the St. Louis Cardinals. In San Diego, on the mound for the Padres, Lamar Hoyt, but Darrell Porter gets to him in the 1st. Willie McGee scores. Tommy Herco.
Rafael Santana, who had 2 of those errors, couldn't handle the Ron Reynolds throw. Ron Darling, the loser, he was wild, walking 6. He's now 10-4. Joe Niekro went the distance to even his record at 8-8. Well, the Cards now 3.5 ahead.
These either both win the same day or they both lose. Today, they both won. First, the Mets at Shea, 3-2 over Montreal tonight. First inning, Keith Hernandez goes the other way, right down the line. First, Dykstra scores, then Backman is right behind. 2-0 Mets at the time, first inning. Now, 8th inning, here's Orozco in relief of Aguilera. Bases loaded, 2 straight pop-ups. UL Washington pops it to Carter. Good enthusiasm for the Mets. It was 3-0 at the time. 2 outs in the 9th. Goodbye shutout. Tim Wallach hit a 2-run homer off Orozco, but that's how it ended. 3-2 Mets. Aguilera gets the win. The Cards are off, so the Mets are now 3 games out. The Yankees, they still lead the Yankees by 7. So, should the season end with a strike next week, the Blue Jays have already clinched
National League East, just 2 games over the New York Mets. The Mets gained ground today by whipping the Montreal Expos 5-2 at Shea Stadium. Darryl Strawberry singled home the first run of the game for the Mets as they went on to complete a 3-game series sweep. The victory gave New York a July record of 21-7 that ties the team record for the most wins in a single month. Ed Lynch picked up the victory. He had relief help from Roger McDowell. Over in the American
3.5 game, they're now within a game and a half of the Cardinals. Cards losing to the Cubs 9-8 in 14 innings. A wild play involving the rookie sensation Vince Coleman on the front end of a double steal. Here's Coleman stealing third, but overslides, leading to this rundown. Looks like the Cubs have him, but no one covering home. So Coleman is able to make the turn, and he scores. He's credited with 2 stolen bases on the play for 74 on the year, breaking the National League rookie record. And this is Larry Boa with a successful suicide squeeze with
the Mets when they visit the Cubs and Expos, plus games at Shea against the Phillies and Dodgers. And don't forget, sports.
Okay, their proposed strike. Dwight Gooden opened the first of 4 games against Houston in his striking style as the Majors' King of the K card, won his 9th straight and 15th overall. Still, Gooden couldn't have won that one strictly with his pitching. He needed a little support, such as the sort given by the Houston Brain Trust, which deduced Gary Carter as the better bet to pitch to than Keith Hernandez with a man on and the game in the balance. So what did Carter have to say to that? Bet you'll never guess. A 3-run blow. Number 12 for the Mets fired up catcher in a 6-3 victory. Next, a Mets-Astros doubleheader, or double date any Met fan would have to miss. 16 New York dump-a-bump runs in the opener, all of them unearned. For the Astros, a day not to remember, as the Mets wound up the afternoon with 2 victories and 23 runs, a club record for Twin Bills, while making Houston losers of 12 of their last 13. Nothing to do but try and wipe clear the slate in Game 4 as Joe Niekro found his Astro teammates willing, if necessary, to get down on their knees to win. Houston restored a bit of pride with a 12-4 victory, aided by 4 Met misplays to raise hopes of better days in the uncertain weeks to come.
Darling comes in to score, and Backman gets his 19th run batted in.
So the Mets doing a fine job right there, scoring a run. Darling double.
Ball 4. The ground ball is short. Should be a double dip. Bad throw to first, and they knocks the ball away. He's safe.
He is safe, and he is in such pain out there. Usually when he runs, he doesn't make the move. So that ball knocked him down and walked Jody Davis. Or throw things into the arena. Ron Darling is out of there now.
Stop as Bosley is out of the ball.
New York. Breaking ball up. Squeeze is on. It's going to be successful. Nobody covering, and the ball hits Goodbar. Oh, boy. Cubs lead 4-3. Oh, my goodness. That is the second time in 2 days that Keith Hernandez has thrown to the wrong base. Waving off Moreland. 2 out. Ground ball left side. Tough play for Spire. Safe at first base. Line drive right field. That may score Backman. It definitely will score Backman. Backman's going to score. And this game is knotted, folks. 4-4. If you can believe it.
Keith Hernandez does it one more time.
And neither do I, really. There's Lee.
1-strike pitch. And the fastball hit out to right field, deep right field. Moreland back to the wall. This ball carrying, and it is gone. Goodbye. Howard Johnson with a home run into the wind in right center field. And the Mets lead it by a score of 5-4.
And today he was on the mound in Chicago to pick up win number 17, 11 in a row as the Mets beat the Cubs 4-1. Dwight Gooden not only pitched a superb game, but he also helped his cause at the plate with this double in the 3rd inning. Gooden then went to third on Bachman's base hit He later scored when Keith Hernandez hit this single to left. Mets led 1-0. The Mets got 2 more in the same inning when Gary Carter followed Hernandez with a 2-run double. Mets led 3-0 on their way to a 4-1 victory over the Cubs today in Chicago. Dwight Gooden had a no-hitter for 5 innings. He's now 17-3, struck out 6 and walked 3 to win his 11th in a row, breaking Tom Seaver's mark of 10 straight set back in 1969. The Mets now trail the Cards by a mere half game.
Let's look at that National League scoreboard. Ozzie Virgil's 2-run double highlighted a 6-run 8th game may come, but the Mets have left nothing undone in their march to first place. Tell you why in a minute. Yesterday, it was the wonder pitcher Dwight Gooden. Today in Chicago, their young outfielder Darryl Strawberry led them to a 7-2 win. 3 home runs for the California Cannon. Look at this shot early. It went out of the ballpark so fast nobody saw it. Whoop! 3-0. Now here's his second one. On the way. Almost to straight center field. Right center. I watched the third one off the lefty. It was hit to dead center field in the 9th inning. Come on, Darryl. See what happens. 3 home runs, chance to join the select group. He lines a single to right, so it doesn't count. But given this kind of support, Ed Lynch got his 9th win of the year, and the Mets went into a tie with St. Louis for first place. But the Cards were playing tonight. The faltering Cards against Philadelphia. And in that ball game, Ozzie Virgil of Philadelphia has hit 2 home runs. This first one up the lead to 4-1. Russell hit one, made it 5-1. It is 8-1 Philadelphia in the bottom of, you see where he jumped right over the Mets sign? He couldn't get over the Mets sign, and Cox, the young pitcher for St. Louis, didn't do the job tonight. It looks like the win will go to Philadelphia, and the Mets will be in first place. Let's run the rest of the scoreboard down. Montreal beat Pittsburgh 5-2 Los Angeles.
Ripped to right, he didn't get it up. He just didn't get it up. Darryl Strawberry 4 for 4 on the afternoon. Been on base 5 times, 4 runs scored, 5 RBIs and 3
situation. His 3rd of the game, his 15th of the year. Standing ovation from the crowd at Wrigley. The 4th Met to hit 3 home runs in a game. It was 7-1 New York. In the 9th, Strawberry up looking.
Senior Keith Hernandez rips it off the leg of Dick Ruthven, who eventually was forced to leave. They have been decimated by injuries, and it was Jody Davis able to tee off against Ron Darling. This is 2nd of the game. Came in the 4th. Cubs lead 3-2, but the Mets able to come back. Hernandez blazing at bat with this base hit. It's an RBI single to score Wally Backman, and the game is tied at 4. Then in the 7th, Backman, who has been hot, with this, his 3rd hit of the game, scoring pitcher Roger McDowell, who began the 2-out rally with a single. Mets over the Cubs 6-4. They remain a half game in front.
In there. Not a...
He just gets the pad on. Foul. And a drag bunt coming to the plate to score is Gardenhire. Left field for a base hit. Gooden will score. Backman will score. Dykstra to 3rd. Hernandez to 2nd. Ground ball into left field. In comes Dykstra. Here comes Hernandez. He is out at the plate. Carter to 2nd. It is 7-2 Mets. Carter on that bad knee will be held at 3rd. Strawberry at 2nd. Foster at 1st. And the batter will be Ray Knight. Denier on his horse will make the catch. Everybody tagging at 2nd and 3rd. Carter scores. Strawberry to 3rd.
Greet the Mets. Notice it doesn't say beat the Mets, because nobody's been able to do that lately. Chalk up 7 in a row for the Sheiks of Shea, who again buried the Cubs, this time 6-2. And they get going in the 1st inning when the catcher, Gary Carter, strokes a Derek Botello pitch over the left field wall. The Sarge says, see ya to this home run, and it's a 2-0 Mets lead after 1 inning of play. Third inning, the Cubs have made it 2-1, and Matthews can do it at the plate, though. He lines a single to left, Sandberg scores, and we are tied at 2. But next time up, boom, same result. Now it looked like a half swing for Carter, but 365 feet later in the bullpen, it's gone. Second 2-run homer gives the Mets the 4-2 lead. Mets played some good defense, and here's a guy, Wally Backman, that his insertion into the lineup on a more regular basis is really, I think, keyed the Mets' success. He's been a big spark plug for New York. Ed Merrill Lynch was winning for the 6th straight time on the mound. Nice defense there as he gets the toss from Hernandez. Business as usual for the Mets as they defeat the Chicago Cubs 6-2. Lynch ups his record now to 10-5. Botello, just recall with all the injuries we'll talk about later, is 0-2, Gail.
Chris, meanwhile at the vet, the St. Louis Cards now drop a game behind the first-place Mets. Phil's Shane Raleigh tossing a 6-hitter at them, backed up by solo homers from Ozzie Virgil and Mike Schmidt. So it was the Phils defeating the Cards. The final was 4-1. Cards were leading, though, 1-0 in the bottom of the first inning. One on, Von Hayes rips a base hit up the middle off of Bob Forsch. Samuel races around third, comes in to score. We're all tied up at 1 apiece. Bottom of the second now, 2 men on for the Phils. Samuel with the ground out to second base, but that was good enough to bring in Virgil, and the Phils take the lead for good, 2-1. Then the bottom of the fourth, Ozzie Virgil leads off with a drive to deep left field, his 15th homer of the season, and the Phils lead 3-1. Not to be outdone in the bottom of the 5th inning, it's Mike Schmidt taking Bob Forsch deep to left, number 19 on the season for Schmidt, and the Phils cruise to a 4-1 victory. Shane Raleigh getting that win. Tossing that 6-hitter, Bob Forsch takes the loss, so the Cards now 1 back of the Mets. Meanwhile, the Expos stay 5 back of the Mets as they beat the Pirates 6-5. Bottom of the first, 2 on. Huey Brooks with the shot to
Mets, winners of 7 in a row. Gary Carter gets them going early with his 15th homer of the year. A 2-run shot in the first. New York leads 2-0. In the third, the Cubs come back. Ryan Sandberg drills it down the line. George Foster won't find the handle at first out there in the corner. Dernier scores, and it's a 1-run ball game, but Carter blasts another 2-run shot in the bottom of the inning to make it 4-1. Then in the 6th, watch this. Howard Johnson chops it over Durham into right field. Keith Moreland doesn't get a glove on it. This time, Foster is waved around third. He scores. Johnson goes to third, and the Mets are on a roll. 6-2 the final. The 7th straight win for New York. While the Cubs drop their 7th in a row, they are now 12 back, while the Mets are 1 up on St. Louis. The Cards at the vet. Coleman steals his 78th base of the season. The throw goes to center field. Coleman takes off for third. And that sets up Willie McGee, and he comes through with his 55th RBI of the year. He finds the gap in the infield, and Coleman can crawl home from there, and St. Louis leads 1-0. But bottom of the first, instant replay. Philadelphia's Juan Samuel takes off. He gets every bit of it. His 19th of the season. It comes off Bob Forsch. It closes out the scoring. Philadelphia takes it. Finals
right now. A pitching staff led by Dwight Gooden, who has won 12 straight. The torrid hitting in recent weeks of Keith Hernandez, Darryl Strawberry, and Wally Backman, and the addition of the speed and good glove of Len Dykstra. Mets had some thoughts on their own success.
Well, the ball club's really gelling, you know, when Darryl Strawberry's...
Well, I'm glad we're supposed to catch that ball with a smile. So, you know, that's a sign of Sid's maturing, and, you know, he's always pitched well when he's been in trouble, but I think it's just a sign of him feeling more at home in the big leagues, and he threw as good a ball game as I've seen this year, and the best.
Rick Aguilera against Philadelphia, looking for his 9th straight win. This is the reason the Mets are winning. Look at this play where Howard Johnson busts his back, getting back to first base on a play he could have been out on. Now, what's the importance? The Mets at the time were leading 2-0. The kid, Dykstra, he looks 15, runs like a deer. Johnson scores. Now watch where Dykstra winds up. Belly slide. Whoops! That made it 3-0. Now the key man on a ball club these days is Wally Backman. That's his 3rd hit of the ball game. He's in the top 10 in hitting, and he's the top hitter on the Mets. That made it 4-0, and the Mets needed it because Philadelphia came back and gave them trouble at the end. Dalton hit his first Major League home run off Aguilera. Then Orozco had to come in the 8th inning with the Mets ahead by a score of 4-2 and the bases loaded, and he got him out, and he got him out in the 9th. So the Mets win it by a score of 4-2. They have now won 9 in a row. Meantime, in St. Louis, the Cardinals took on Pittsburgh at home, They were ahead 2-0 in the fourth. Watch this play by Ozzie Smith at short. Woo! I don't know how he gets that ball. Bases loaded. He wasn't able to make a good throw to Tommy Herr, so Gonzalez was safe at first. A run scored. Now here's Sammy Khalifa with a base hit off Andujar looking for his 19th win. The throw by McGee goes to third, and Pena's out at third, so it was 2-2. But in the sixth, here's the big hit. Darrell Porter down the line in right field.
Here it is, Ray Knight's 5th home run of the year, going the other way. He hit this ball a long way over that right field wall. And Ray Knight picking up his 5th home run and 25th and 26th RBIs of the season.
Now the batter is Gardenhire. Reynolds' curveball, and not good enough as he is struck out, and that ends the inning. Mets the score at the end of one inning here at Shea. It's a ball fouled away. And one more foul ball, and Strawberry has go, and this time a bouncing ball. The shortstop had. And he was named the greatest Philly player ever in a poll that was taken.
Darryl Strawberry. Mets take the lead 8-7. Fastball is high. Man, he hit that ball a ton, didn't he?
Oh, he's
in Dykstra, or was it this morning? I think it was this morning. Popped up. Shallow left field. Von Hayes in. The ball going over Hayes. Hunt Strawberry to third. He's safe at third. 2-run score on a misplayed ball by Von Hayes in left field.
And too far, the wind taking the ball back, and now he can't make the catch. He has the glasses down, but that is not a sun ball.
Ground ball up the middle. Samuel to 10-7 after 8. Filled in marvelously for Mookie Wilson. 3 and 6-4, 6-5, 6-6, 7-6, 7-7, and now 10-7. 1, and that's it for the second out. Swings and misses. Popped up in the infield. That should do it. Bachman waving everybody off at second. And he squeezes it for the appreciative third out. An emotional Jesse Orozco winning his 4th game of the year, and what a series he had against the Phillies, Ralph.
Two on Strawberry's home run. Tom Paciorek hits it deep to right center field. It is off the fence. Coming in to score is Santana to go in front for the Mets. And going into third base, Tom Paciorek. Today, it's the Mets against the Pirates.
1-0 taking over first place by a half game. Neither club delighted with umpire calls. 4th inning, Keith Hernandez, fly ball short left. Watch Len Dykstra tagging at third. The play at the plate, the catcher Fitzgerald may have missed Dykstra. That's what the Mets felt, but he's called out at home. Montreal's 6th inning, runner at third. Hubie Brooks looks to check the swing. First base ump says, you broke your wrist. It's call, strike 3, taking Montreal out of a rally. Only run, Wally Bachman in the 8th inning, smacking one over the head of Herm Winningham. It's an RBI double. Heap scores. That was it. Ron Darling, Roger McDowell combining on a 4-hitter. Darling now 11-5. Mets a half game in front. Montreal dropping 5 games back. Nothing else today in the National League.
Gail, the Mets and their fans call him Dr. K, but unless you're his teammate, he's not good for what ails you. He is what ails you. Dwight Gooden, barring serious injury, is destined to be one of the truly great pitchers in baseball history. Tonight at Shea Stadium in New York, Gooden fanned a Major League season's best 16 en route to his 13th consecutive victory, a 3-0 win over the Giants. The Red Hot Mets have now won 13 of their last 16 games and now lead the National League East by a game and a half. The K Corner anxiously awaiting Dr. K to add to his league-leading strikeout total, and he didn't disappoint. Bases loaded for the Giants in the top of the first. Joel Youngblood with the half swing at the breaking pitch into the dirt, and the Giants go away empty in the first. Bottom of the second inning with one out, Rafael Santana gets the Mets on the board with a base hit off Jim Gott to center field. Darryl Strawberry comes around from second, and the Mets lead it by a score of 1-0. 1 out later, it will be Lenny Dykstra finding the hole between first and second. Howard Johnson comes around. The 2-0 New York lead, more than enough for Dwight Gooden to work with. He struck out the side in the fourth inning to the delight of the Shea Stadium fans. Watch Bob Brenly looking for the big curveball, and instead he gets the heater right down the middle for strikeout number 200 of the season. For Gooden, only the second major leaguer to strike out 200 or more in his first 2 seasons. The other was Herb Score. Gooden came right back to strike out the side in the 5th. This time Jose Uribe gets the big curveball. 11 strikeouts through 5 innings. He went the distance, his 13th complete game, and he gets Rob Deere to end the game here for number 16. Tops in the majors this year, and that ties his career high. This is as hard as Dwight Gooden was hit all evening as Darryl Strawberry came on to give him the high elbows. Big night indeed for the Mets and Dwight Gooden as good stop Larry Boa, the 39-year-old veteran who was dropped by the Cubs earlier this season. Now Boa gives the Mets another experienced glove defensively. His career .980 fielding percentage, the highest for a shortstop in Major League history. And Boa downplays his addition to a team that's already tough.
I don't think this ball club needs too much help. I think they're outstanding talent. They have great pitchers, Strawberry, Foster, Hernandez, Carter. I can go right down to Backman. They got a great lineup. So if I can just come in and, you know, if I have any advice or somebody asks me something, I'd be glad to shove it along and help out in any way I possibly can. But I'm just going to watch right now, and if Davey needs me, I'll be glad to fill in. But I don't think they need any help. I think they're going to win it.
Meanwhile, in Houston, the second-place St. Louis Cards started the night a half game back of the Mets. Well, make that a game and a half. The Cards were demolished by the Astros. The final was 17-2. Houston with 19 hits. Dickie Son, 4 RBIs. Mark Bailey getting his second grand slam of the season. Bottom of the third, Ricky Horton pitching for the Cardinals. Astros with the bases loaded, and there goes Mark Bailey's home run deep to left field. This one just clearing the wall. 10th homer for Bailey, a grand slam. The Astros with the 8-0 lead. Still in the third, Terry Poole with a shot down the left field line. That brings in Mike Scott from second base, who goes into the corner. And the Astros lead by the score of 9-0. Big night for Dickie Son. Bottom of the fourth inning. Here he lifts a long fly ball to left field. This one over the head of Steve Braun. That brings in both Glenn Davis and Mark Bailey. Thon with a triple. The Astros out on top 11-0. Bottom of the sixth now. Thon at the plate again, and this time he hits a drive off of Bob Forsch. A 2-run shot to left center. His 4th homer of the season. The Astros never looked back en route to a 17-2 victory. Mike Scott getting the win. He is now 13-6.
Into tonight's action, the Mets and Cardinals running 1-2 and separated by just a half game. We go to the leader, to Shea Stadium, New York, and Terry Leach, a virtual unknown man of the Mets pitching staff, forced to start when Fernandez suffered dizzy spell. Game time, Leach with a sidearm, sometimes submarine delivery and sweeping curveball, handcuffed Manny Trio. By the 6th, Giants had just 1 hit. So desperate were they, starter Vita Blue put down a drag bunt and made it for the second San Francisco hit. Mets led 2-0 until the 6th. Then Darryl Strawberry just crushed the pitch from Blue. Look at Chili Davis turn his back. Towering drive that smashed off the padding in dead center. Next inning, Mets load the bases. Strawberry dribbles to short. Jose Uribe throws late. Why are the Giants last? We'll try first baseman Dan Dreesen. He was caught napping. 2-run score on the infield hit. But the dominant guy tonight, Terry Leach, a 31-year-old rookie. Forgotten by the Mets, discarded, goes to the Braves. Couldn't cut it with them, let loose by the Cubs. He hopped around the minor leagues. Actually, the Braves let him go, and the Mets got him back as a free agent. And guy, Joe Niekro, superb. He retired 13 in a row at one point, even getting the speedy Vince Coleman at first. What a great play that was to stop Coleman. John Tudor, sensational. Tudor unable to force Houston into enough ground balls, but look at Ozzie Smith here. Still, it was 1-0 Astros on an error. Let in the only run, but here we go. With the score 1-1, top of the 9th, pinch hitter Brian Harper will tie it there at 1, and then, a walk will lose it. Dawley walks in the winning run. The Cardinals rally for 2 runs in the 9th inning at Houston.
Dwight Gooden, our own Dr. K, becomes the youngest pitcher ever to win 20 games in one season. Jane Hansen joined the fans at Shea.
It seemed as if Dwight Gooden had someone special watching out for him because as game time got closer, the rain went away. But then, as Linda Drew says,
it never rains when Gooden pitches.
What is it you'd like to do?
Marry Gooden.
Record set way back in 1939. Bob Feller, known as the Cleveland Fireballer, defeated the Browns in St. Louis for win number 20. It was 56 days shy of his 21st birthday. Gooden still has 32 days to beat that record, but his fans were confident he'd do it today.
I'm confident that he's going to win it. It's a short thing.
What makes him such a superstar? Hitter came in for Dr. K, but the Mets had the lead, and they never lost it, finally winning 9-3. And so while it really wasn't Dwight Gooden's day on the pitching mound, it certainly was his day in the record books. You said the rhythm was off. I'm wondering, was it because you were nervous about the number 20?
No, I wasn't nervous. Like I say, it was, still a pretty good part of the season to go ahead, and just wanted to go in and pitch it as any other ball game. But, fortunately, I didn't have my best stuff, and the hitters picked me up.
He's on a planet of his own, and believe me, he is...
And still only 20 years old. Now, in setting the record for being the youngest player in Major League history to win 20 games, the doctor also won his 14th game in a row. That's the longest winning streak in the majors this year. The kid hasn't lost a game since May. Think about that. And like all pitchers who are big winners, Gooden managed to win on a day when he did not have his best stuff, as he said earlier. The doctor worked 6 innings in the drizzle at Shea, striking out only 4 and giving up 3 runs. 2 of them were earned. And what his arm could not carry, his roommate's bat did. Darryl Strawberry, with this shot over the center fielder's head in the bottom of the first, drove in Len Dykstra and Keith Hernandez and put the Mets up 2-0. Now, Gooden, who's a pretty good fielder, didn't help himself in the 6th when he took a bunt by the Padres pitcher Eric Shaw and threw it away, trying to nail the runner at third. But with the Mets clinging to a 3-2 lead, it was Strawberry to the rescue again with this monster drive to dead center field, his 20th of the year, and that's the tops on the club despite the fact he missed 6 weeks. Roger McDowell came on to pick up the save, his 12th, as the Mets went on to win 8-5. Well, the Met victory did not, however, help them get to beat the Braves 5-2, and that kept the Cardinals 1 full game ahead of the Mets. As we look at the standings now in the National League's Eastern Division, you see the Mets 1 game back, Montreal 7.5 off the pace.
Swing and a miss, so with 3-2 to count on Dykstra. Still 3-2 to Dykstra. And the fastball just misses first.
We're building tomorrow's memories today, right here on NBC.
Today it's baseball on NBC and a showdown as Gary Carter and the New York Mets travel out west to take on Pedro Guerrero and the leaders in the National League West, the Los Angeles Dodgers. But up first, NBC. And in L.A., the Mets kept pace with St. Louis, a dream pitching matchup. Dwight Gooden against Fernando Valenzuela. Both look sharp. Gooden going 9 innings, striking out 10, and Valenzuela pitching 11 innings, striking out 5. There was no score. Headed into the top of the 13th. Runners on first and third for New York. Darryl Strawberry hits a 2-run double just inside the left field line. That scores Keith Hernandez and Wally Backman. The final, the Mets win 2-0. So here are the standings in the East. The Cardinals lead by 1.5 games, and you have to wonder who's going to blink first. The Cardinals have won 4 straight. The Mets have won 5 in a row. And the New York Mets keep a date with Oakland in the World Series. Last night, the Mets are still trying to keep a date for postseason play. Darryl Strawberry's ground rule double by inches. Now you go back to 1981. Rick Monday against Steve Rogers. Andre Dawson to the wall, and it's gone. And the Dodgers keep a date with the Yankees in the World Series. And once more, it is date time. And Pedro Guerrero in the shoes of Monday and all of the other great Dodgers trying to put them into postseason play. Time. Pitch is a high fly ball into deep right center. It's playable. Marshall is going to go to the track and make the catch. Both runners tag. Peshorek scores. Hernandez to third. 1-0 New York. Field for the home run. And he lines it into right center, and just like that, it is 2-0 Mets. So Strawberry, with 2 swings of the bat, runner on a hit-and-run single into right field. Strawberry keeps on going to third. Marshall gets the ball back into Sachs. Had he... What a move Royce put on him. Back on
cruising on a power drive. 3 home runs against San Diego one night, 2 more the next. Only the 13th player in big league history to blast 5 homers in 2 straight games as the Mets closed to within 1 game of first place St. Louis in the East.
Meanwhile, at Dodger Stadium, the Mets and the Dodgers went to extra innings for the 2nd time in this series. The Mets won in 13 Friday night, and on Sunday they needed 14 for the victory. Mookie Wilson with a homer in the top of that inning, giving the Mets the 4-3 win and moving them just a half game back of the first place St. Louis Cards. Scoreless game in the 2nd inning. Oral Hershiser pitching for Los Angeles, and Gary Carter hits a long drive to deep left field. Watch Bill Russell go back. This one tipped off his glove over the wall. His 9th homer on the West Coast this year. The Mets lead 1-0. 8th inning, Mets hold the slim 2-1 lead. Keith Hernandez with the single to right brings home Wilson from second. It's 3-1 Mets. Bottom of the 8th, the Dodgers tie it against Jesse Orozco. Mike Marshall crunches a 2-run homer to straightaway center field, his 19th of the year. We're tied up at 3. Both teams had chances to end this game earlier. In the 11th, Rick Aguilera facing Greg Brock fans him with 2 on and 2 outs. Then in the top of the 12th, Mets with 2 on and 2 outs against Carlos Diaz, and he strikes out Darryl Strawberry, so the game remains tied. That brings us to the top of the 14th. Diaz still on the hill. Mookie Wilson leads off the inning with this solo home run to left field, his 4th of the season. And that turned out to be the margin of victory. Tommy Lasorda none too pleased, but they still have that big lead in the West. Mookie mobbed by the Mets in the dugout, 4-3. 2 scoreless innings for winning pitcher Doug Sisk. Greg Brock here grounds out to Wally Backman to end the long struggle as the Mets win in 14. The final score was 4-3. Sisk getting the win and Diaz taking the loss. A quick check of the standings in the National League, and the New York Mets, again, just a half game back of the St. Louis Cards, so that one looks like it's going to go down to the wire. And, of course, the Dodgers losing, but the Reds not completing that game today, so the Dodgers lead is 8, but looks pretty strong right now.
Let's make it 2-1 Mets. Yes, he beat the throw. Bottom of the 8th, Mets lead 3-1 at this point. 1 on. Mike Marshall at the plate will take Jesse Orozco. Orozco knew it as soon as he let it go. Downtown over the center field tomorrow in a makeup game at Wrigley at Busch Stadium, and then we'll travel to Shea Stadium, New York, Tuesday through Thursday for that 3-game series, the Showdown Series with the Mets. Elsewhere, the Expos beat Outslug San.
Thank you very much, Gail. The St. Louis Cardinals headed into Monday night's play with a half-game lead over the idle New York Mets. The Cards play and host the Chicago Cubs at home, and that game currently in the 9th inning right now. The Cardinals have something going 1st and 3rd and 2 men out, but the Cubs holding on to a 3-1 lead. Fontenot started along with Kepshire 4.
By beating the Cards, the final was 5-4. The Mets with 5 runs in the first, 4 coming on a Howard Johnson grand slam. They then had to hold on for the victory. Ron Darling pitching for the Mets in the top of the 1st inning, and Tommy Herr at the plate, and Herr tags a long drive to right field, a homer for her, his 5th of the season, and the Cards out quickly 1-0. But in the bottom of the 1st, the Mets with the runner on first against Danny Cox. Keith Hernandez with the base hit to left center field. Vince Coleman then slips, enabling Mookie Wilson to come around and score all the way from first, and we're tied up at 1 apiece. So there are now 2 outs and 2 on, following some stalling tactics. Cox takes exception and tags him with that pitch in the behind. So Foster and Cox exchange a few words, and it looks like nothing much is going to happen. But the bench is clear just in case they were about to fight, so they kind of milled around for a little bit and shoved each other. But needless to say, nothing happened and nobody was ejected. So now the Mets have the bases loaded. And Howard Johnson with a long drive to right field. That is a grand slam. This one a tremendous shot off the scoreboard. His 9th homer of the year, 2nd career grand slam. And needless to say, they go nuts at Shea. 5-1 Mets. Top of the 7th, St. Louis draws close. Vince Coleman with a shot down the right field line into the corner that brings home Mike Jorgensen. St. Louis added a run in the 7th and trailed by 1, 5-4. But Roger McDowell pitched 2 2/3 scoreless innings for his 13th save. Willie McGee bounces out to McDowell, ending the ball game. And the Mets hold on to beat the Cards. The final was 5-4. Ron Darling getting the win. Now he's 15-5. Cox takes the loss. He drops to 15-9. McDowell with save number 13 on the season. So the Mets now with a game lead over the Cards in the National League East.
And that's Justin Davis
inside. Jams him with a fastball. Tough play for Smith. And Brian Harper can't make the play at first. Back Backman 2 for 4. He'll be bunting again, I assume. And it's a beauty. And Daly's going to tag Backman. Base hit left field. Here comes Wilson. Coleman can't come up with it. Mets win 7-6. The Mets are in first place by a game.
The crowd staying for this great finish as Keith Hernandez ties the Major League record for game-winning RBIs with a single through the infield. Mookie coming in to score. The ball not handled by Coleman. I think that's academic, as Mookie would...
To open a three-game series, a classic confrontation of young maestros of the airwaves. New York, Dwight Gooden versus L.A.'s Fernando Valenzuela. Two pitching heroes who matched absolute zeros into extra innings.
So Brock strikes out on a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and the pitch is swung on and missed, and here we go. Fastball got him swinging. Dwight Ruddy in the strike 2 pitch. Curveball got him swinging. That's not fair. Is he something?
Something to cause pause for thought in pitching-rich Dodger land, not to mention an ex-Dodgers helping hand.
Swung on into right field, Maturin going back, reaching up. Oh, what a catch! What a catch!
Inspired defense and pitching gets the Mets a victory in most cases. But with Valenzuela refusing to give him an inch, winning this case was hardly a cinch. Valenzuela went 11 scoreless innings to Gooden's 9, but the game stayed on the 0-0 line onto the 13th, whereupon LA's largest crowd of the year lost cause to cheer when Darryl Strawberry finally managed to bury the great stalemate debate. 2-0 New York to erase the 0-0 case of ace to ace, having dialed a losing number in the pitching duel. Dodger scored tied in the 9th. Mike Marshall employed his hot-hitting stick to nick the Mets 7-6. Having thus split an equal share of squeezers, the two teams continued to search for the elusive pair of winning tweezers to pull out a victory in Game 3. A 3-3 tie prevailed till push finally came to shove in the 14th, as Mookie Wilson making his
first place in the National League East in a race that appears destined to go down to the wire. Now, should they finish the regular season tied, both teams would hold a one-game playoff to determine the division winner the next day in New York. Mets reliever Jesse Orozco. Last night, the loser, he came in to protect a one-run lead in the 9th inning and wall to tie the game. It was 6-6. Cardinals looked to young reliever Ken Daly to send the game into extra innings. Instead, Mr. Clutch, Keith Hernandez, comes in and sends a shot to left field to score Mookie Wilson from second. The Mets go on to win it 7-6 and take a one-game lead in the National League East. Well,
both teams fighting for the top spots of their divisions. Mets in action this afternoon against St. Louis, the winner to take a one-game lead in the National League East, and it was the Mets' turn today. They held on to beat the Cards 7-6. Dave Smith with highlights and more.
The enthusiasm, the comradeship, the humor. It's fun to be at the ballpark when you've got the fever. In the loges at Shea Stadium, Gabe Pressman, News 4 New York.
Even Gabe has the fever. Tomorrow, the Mets are in Montreal for a doubleheader against the Expos.
Today, though, it all came back in focus. The Mets and Cards tied for first. This afternoon, the Mets made a laugher into a cliffhanger. They led 6-0, but they held on to beat the Cards 7-6, and the Mets are back alone in first place. The fans could feel the magic.
It's very exciting right now. Pennant fever's here. We're number one. I love the Mets. That's the truth. The Mets are great. All right, the Mets!
That was this afternoon. By this evening, scores of those Met fans, stubs in hands, had become Yankee fans. They were ready for the Yankees to play the first-place Blue Jays. It's a 4-game series. A great show by the Yankees could put the Yanks in first place as well. Before the game, the speculation had already begun. So had the raspberries between crosstown rivals. All right, so you're picking who now in a Subway Series? Should it come down to that? You guys who've been at both today?
Mets.
I'm taking the Mets.
Mets.
I'm going with the Mets.
Oh, yeah, no. Gotta be the Yanks. They're hot.
It's gonna be a good one.
Mattingly all the way at the Yanks. Can't lose. Too bad one of them has to lose, but it's going to be a great series. It's going to be a great pennant race. It's going to be a great month of September and October.
We're the best team in baseball. The hottest team. There's no doubt.
Mattingly!
You think the Yankees can do it?
Of course they can. No problem.
Yeah. In front of St. Louis in the National League East. It has been quite a day of baseball here in New York. Of course, later in the broadcast, Jerry Gerard will be along with all the highlights and other comments. And right now, back to the news desk.
Okay, thank you.
And a half back. Tomorrow night, it'll be Jim Clancy for Toronto, Phil Niekro gunning for number 300 for the Yankees. And at Shea this afternoon, Mets made a 2 out of 3 over the Cards, recapturing first place by 1 game. Mets beat the Cards in dramatic fashion 7-6 after 4 in the first. Wally Backman came through with this hit-and-run double and a 2-run second. 5-0 Mets off to a fast start as 20-game winner Joaquin Andujar did not have it. Knocked out in the second, and he's had problems as of late. But the Cards came back from 6-zip. Willie McGee doing it against Jesse Orozco, who gave up the game winner last night. Well, he served one up to McGee in the 9th today. Dykstra to the wall, but it's gone. Tied at 6. Met 9th, one-time Card Keith Hernandez coming through. His 22nd game-winning RBI. The base hit scores Mookie Wilson to win it 7-6. After the game, Len Berman talked with Hernandez.
It was just a big win for us. It would have been a very tough loss for us and a very big win for them emotionally, because we squandered the lead, and it would have been a win for them that would have maybe have been carried them to the pennant. So for us to win that game, and great.
Heck of a way for you to get a win, isn't it?
I don't even know if I want that, but I'll take the team win.
And this is a fine all-around day for the Mets, who earlier faced the Cardinals in a coin flip for the home field advantage should there be a 1-game playoff, should the Mets and Cardinals finish in a tie for first. National League President Chub Feeney doing the honors. Frank Cashin representing the Mets. Cardinal GM Dal Maxwell on hand for St. Louis.
You ready now? Jerry's supposed to call it.
Hit.
Tails. I'll plan it. I thought you might. That'll be Monday, October 7th, time to be announced.
Thought for a moment they couldn't find the coin. Mets won the flip. If there is a 1-game playoff, it will be out at...
The thing that comes to mind must be, say it ain't so, Willie. The latest name to be dragged through the drug trial gutter belongs to the Hall of Fame. Headed through the night, the Blue Jays landed at Yankee Stadium. We'll have the highlights and the full baseball picture, but first, Thursday night football, Jim. Monday night football on Thursday.
The Mets win.
The American League East is on the line. And the Cardinals and Mets in a direct hit of the game. They came in dead even. When we come back, we'll show you how they came out. Stay with us. It went to the wire. Fever has cooled, so a day later, it's back to the business of winning pennants. Rose's Reds don't have much chance of that. But over in the National League East, there's the Mets and Cardinals bucking for the lead. Today, they collided again. Rubber game of a 3-game series, both with identical records, tied for the division lead coming in. Shades of summer? Hardly. These teams want to be playing well into autumn. Over 46,000 came for the afternoon action. Cardinals started their slumping 20-game winner, Joaquin Andujar, and the Mets jumped all over him. A single, then 3 straight doubles to right field. This by Howard Johnson, and the Mets raced to a 4-0 lead. By the second inning, it was 6-0, and Andujar was gone. Manager Whitey Herzog called on Pat Perry, a rookie making his major league debut, and he was sensational, retiring 10 straight and restoring order for St. Louis. While the Cardinals chipped away off New York starter Ed Lynch. First and second, Tom Nieto chopped one down the line and left. Tom Paciorek gingerly tracked it down while the Cardinals were flying around the bases. Ozzie Smith beat the relay, and then it was 6-5. St. Louis was slicing away at the Mets, and in the ninth, with Jesse Orozco trying to hold off the surge, Willie McGee showed why he leads the league in hitting. Orozco got it up, and McGee put it out and tied the game. Bottom of the ninth, Wally Backman at the plate, man on first, and Backman lays it down perfectly to sacrifice Mookie Wilson on to second base. 1 out. New York could win the game now with a single. Ken Daly, a lefty, against Keith Hernandez, a lefty, and the hitter won that duel and won the game. Hernandez slashed a single to left. Wilson scored standing up, and the Mets beat the Cardinals 7-6. All 3 games decided by a single run each time. New York wins 2 of 3 and now leads St. Louis by a game, with 24 games left, including 3 against each other again in October in St. Louis. Jim, the Yankees take on Toronto. First of a 4-game critical series. The Blue Jays in first since May 13th, but this is their first pennant drive. How do they respond? Early, beautifully. Second inning, man on, Ron Guidry delivered. Ernie Witt does too. Swatted a 2-run homer to break the ice. Yankees try to make a dent in Toronto starter Dave Steve. Dave Winfield cracks one to the corner. Winfield on the way to second. George Bell scoops it up and unleashes a rope. And out. Billy Martin and his troops saying, when are we going to make something happen? Checked on 2 hits by Steve through 6. The Blue Jays defense springs leaks. This perfect double play ball turned to dust. Then Tony Fernandez went into the hole and threw it away. Steve was furious, but long gone. Eventually, Dennis Lamp came in, and Ron Hosse launched one. A tremendous 3-run homer, upper deck job. The Yankees had struck for 6 runs on 3 hits and 2 heat of the battle errors as the Blue Jays wilted under the glare. And then in the ninth, Brian Fisher came in and threw flames to slam it shut. The Yankees had risen from the dead, won game 1 of a 4-game set, and closed within a game and a half. Other action, Gritch has a homer for California.
Another normal evening of baseball, not a whole lot on the line. Yankees in Toronto shooting for first place in the American League East, and a 46-year-old legend throwing knuckleballs all the way to Cooperstown. But tomorrow night, Phil Niekro will have his mind on other things.
It's really not asking that much, is it? Not when you consider the 5,000 innings and the 3,100 strikeouts. They've won more than they lost only 8 times. It's not asking much when you consider that he's nearing Medicare eligibility, but he just wants to pitch in 1 World Series.
The only significant... The team in first place. Doesn't make sense, does it?
Boy, things are getting heated.
Oh, first and do it again.
Paul with 15 lifetime home runs.
I wonder if either of the combatants would be let down tonight. In the case of the New York Mets, the answer was yes, as they came out very flat in game 1 of a twilighter in Montreal, losing to the Expos by a score of 5-1. Second inning, a couple of Expos on against Rick Aguilera. Tim Wallach rips a double down the left field line. Hubie Babbling Brooks scores. By the time the Mets play the ball in, Frank Kona has scored. The Expos lead at 2-0. Later on in the second inning, the Mets get a little sloppy. Mike O'Berry fans here, but Clint Hurdle's throw to Hojo isn't handled. Goes into left field as Wallach is stolen third, and he will score on the air by Johnson. Bryn Smith went the first 7 pitch very, very well. Here he gets Rafael Sayed against Santana to go to 1-4-3. Kind of unusual to see Vance Common Law, the second baseman, make that play, but that's what they did, and they got the double play on the Expos. Went on to defeat the New York Mets in game number 1 by a score of 5-1. Smith went the first 7, gave Hart leading the Montreal Expos. Game number 2, the Mets now lead it by that very same score of 5-1. As Leach started the game for New York, McDowell has come on in the 6th. George Foster, his 18th homer of the year for the Mets. Schatzeder started for Montreal, but they have paraded 3 pitchers to the mound. Birds knew the worst they could do was gain a half game on New York, and at best, they could be leading the National League East by morning. Vince Coleman on first against Steve Trout. Takes off for second. His 94th steal of the season. The Cards lead the majors in steals with 259. That set up run number 1 because Willie McGee with a sliced base hit into right. Coleman motors around third to score and give the Cardinals the 1-0 lead. Now McGee is on first, and you know what that means. You bet. The first of his 2 stolen bases on the afternoon. 45 for Willie McGee on the year. Cardinals finished with 8 stolen bases in the game, and that set up run number 2 when Cesar Cedeno, nice find by the Cardinals, bounds a single to center field. McGee scores. Cards added another in the first and led 3-0. St. Louis, nice defense behind Bob Forsch. Ozzie Smith in the hole. Picks it off. Ron Say, not fist quick enough to get there and beat the throw. Cesar Cedeno says, nice throw. Fourth inning, Cubs have runners at the corners and trailing 4-1. Jody Davis with a fly ball to Tito Landrum. Keith Moreland, not the fleetest of foot, motoring down the line. Tom Nieto makes the tag and comes up first with the ball. Cardinals go on to win it by a score of 9-3. A 12-hit attack.
Now coming back on the Cincinnati.
He was thinking about career win number 300. It was top of the world soup. The Mets beat the Cards and sat all by themselves first in the National League East. Today the Cards won, and then the Mets lost the first game of their doubleheader, and they were back to a tie at the top again. No other way to describe Game 1 tonight. It looks as if the Mets had a letdown from one of their new acquisitions. Larry Boa here nails a double with 2 on and 2 out in the fourth. It was his first base hit as a Met. Went all the way to the wall, scored George Foster and Tom Paciorek, and the Mets had the early lead in the second game, 2-0 over the Expos. Then in the sixth, they added some insurance. George Foster cranked his 18th home run of the year in the sixth with no one on. The Mets led the Expos 3-0. Gary Carter hit his 27th home run of the year in the ninth. The final was 7-2 Mets. Leach got the win, McDowell got the save, and the Mets were back in first. In case anyone forgot, the Cards have reminded us very quickly that it is a long time until the pennant race in the National League is over. The Cards moved right back up close to first this afternoon by hammering the Cubs today in Chicago.
All right, Lenny, here is another quick look at those standings. The Mets a half game up on St. Louis after splitting last night, and over in the American League East, Toronto increased their lead to 2.5 games over the Yankees.
Of the first game.
It really boils down to one thing, pennant race. I don't think it's so much bad blood as that there's a lot on the line here.
The Mets won that first game 5-4, but the next night, John Tudor continued his storybook turnaround, his 9th shutout of the year.
A friend of mine had to be watching me on TV while we're playing the Braves one day, and I just...
Johnson bounces it back. He went rich. Tapped foul.
4 weeks. Like a game of checkers with the Cards and the Mets jumping over each other almost daily. Again, there was a change at the top on Saturday. Mets went to Montreal and looked like anything but a playoff team. Officer Fernandez's leg goes this one. Howard Johnson scoops it up and then misses everybody. Tries to hit a popcorn salesman in the third or fourth row. The ball bounds down into right field, and Tim Raids off to the races and makes it all the way to third base, and the Mets were in trouble, and they knew it. Vance Law then stepped to the plate and flew one to right field. Darryl Strawberry makes a pretty good play here. Charges it from out of the sun into the shade and makes a beautiful throw, but it's up the line just a little bit, and Raines beats it in, and the Expos take a 2-1 lead. Bottom of the 8th, Expos up 4-1, nobody out. Tim Wallach on second, and watch what happens here. Wallach goes to third, and Gary Carter's throw gets past Johnson, and Howard's been getting a lot of grief all year long from the New York media because of his play at third, and he had another long day today, and Montreal takes out the Mets with ease as Jeff Erden picks up this year. The Cubs had the bases loaded, and Matt Keogh came in relief and promptly walked Keith Moreland to allow a run, and the Cubs were up 1-0. The Cubs then added to a 2-1 lead in the bottom of the third when, with a full count, Ryan Sandberg, number 23 for the Cubs, hit home run number 23 for the year. Way out of the ballpark, a solo shot. But the Cardinals rallied in the top of the 6th. They struck for 4 runs. Ozzie Smith, with the big blow, a slapping double down the line and left. It just hangs inside the chalk. Terry Pendleton never stopped from first base. Sarge Matthews has trouble with it out and left. Pendleton scored with Lees to give the Cards a 5-4 lead. They hung on and won the game, and Jim Fry's boys fell again. Cards, have just owned the Cubs and now have retaken first place in the NL East. Pittsburgh beats flip-flop topsy-turvy NL East.
Season and 3 divisional races seem destined to go right down to the season's 9th inning. The closest found in the National League East. Before today's games, the New York Mets trailing the Cardinals by a slim half game. Now the Expos have hurt the Mets this weekend, but not today. 4 in the first for New York. Ex-Expo Gary Carter, 1 out, 2 on, rips this single off Montreal rookie pitcher John Dobson. That scored Mookie Wilson. Then next batter up, Danny Heap. He heaps it on. That's his 7th home run, disappearing over the right field wall. Made it 4-0. They go on to the 6-2 win. Take a look at the scoreboard right now. St. Louis winning. Looks like they'll maintain a half-game lead over the Mets in the East. Elsewhere, the Pirates. We move along. The Pirates beat Philadelphia 5-4. There it is. 9th inning right now. Toronto pounding the Yankees.
Back to the frame. He comes back with a fastball. It's fouled off. Curveball. It's grounded in the hole. It takes a bad hop. Goes off the glove of Shue, and a run scored. Backman trying for third, and he is out on a perfect throw. Darryl Strawberry. And some good pitching. Again, the curveball again. And the curveball, strike 3 call. So the Mets get 1 run on 3.
As I was saying, Ralph, they should have never thrown that pitch to Keith Hernandez. Here it is, the fastball, and Carter drives that ball over the left field wall. A 3-run homer.
Morris here with sports. Dwight Gooden looked fantastic tonight.
This kid is just something else. It gets better, and it's September. This is when it counts. Good evening, everyone. The Mets beat the Phils tonight. The Cards took a pair from Pittsburgh. So St. Louis now leads the Mets in the National League East by 1 full game. Another spectacular outing by Dwight Gooden at Shea this evening. Doc shutting out the Phils 9-0. Gooden got plenty of help from his battery mate Gary Carter. Carter with 4 RBIs, 3 with his 28th homer in the 3rd inning to make it 4-0 Mets. Mookie Wilson 3 for 4 at the plate with 2 runs batted in on this opposite field chip shot triple in the 4th. Howard Johnson scored, and as Mookie slid into 3rd, so did Dwight Gooden. It was 6-0 Mets. Gooden had 2 hits tonight and a couple of RBIs, driving home a pair of runs with this double to left center in the 3-run 5th to make the final 9-0 Mets. Doc went the distance for the 14th time this year, allowing only 2 hits and striking out 11 to raise his major league leading total to 247. It was Gooden's 7th shutout of the season, and he has not allowed a runner to cross the plate for 31 straight innings as he raises his season mark to 21-4. But the Mets still lose a half game in the standings to St. Louis as the Cardinals took a pair from the Pirates in Pittsburgh this afternoon to open a full game lead on the Mets. The Cards won the 2nd game of the doubleheader with the Bucks 3-1 after taking the opener 8-4. The Pirates committed 7 errors in Game 1. Andy Van Slyke's bases-loaded fielder's choice scored Willie McGee in the 1st inning. When Johnny Ray's throw hit Cesar Cedeno in the back, Herr came home to make it 2-0 Cards after 1. It was 7-0 in the 4th when winner John Tudor had his scoreless inning streak broken at 31 innings. It went out with a bang, Bill Allman hitting a grand slam, but Tudor still got the win, his 19th of the season. 4 other games tonight in the National League. Montreal turned back Chicago 8-5. Houston over Atlanta 7-2 the final. Cincinnati beat San Francisco 7-6 in 11 innings. The Dodgers, who started play today 8.5 games ahead of the Reds in the West, are tied in San Diego 1 apiece in the 4th inning. Well, yesterday the Yankees lost.
It would have been the same thing. In other words, if they keep doing what the other guys do, no good. Mets and Cards win, Yanks and Jays lose, so everything stays the same, except now there are only 17 games to play for everybody, which is bad for the Yanks and the Mets. All right, 25,000 at Shea. The Mets beat the Cubs 4-2. McDowell saves it for Aguilera. George Foster had a single, double, and a triple. Let's go to the videotape. It's the bottom of the 4th, 2-1 Cubs. Mets have 2 on, and Ray Knight comes through, doubles off the right field wall. Here comes Carter. He scores. Strawberry right behind him. The Mets led 3-2 at this point. That's the way it stood till the bottom of the 8th inning. Strawberry comes up, and boom, that ball is still going. In fact, it landed in Dennis Cunningham's backyard. Come on out, take a bow. Darrell, 4-2 is 24th of the year the Mets winning. However, in Philadelphia, the Cardinals beat the Phillies 7-0. Bob Forsch all the way on a 3-hitter. The Cards still lead by 2. Let's go to the videotape. Phillies were terrible in the field. In the top of the 5th, Coleman on first. Look at Ozzie Virgil's throw. Beautiful to the center fielder. Coleman gets his 99th stolen base. Here's one for you. The Phillies had 4 errors tonight. McGree, ground ball to Samuel. Nice play, Juan. Beautiful. Bounces in the dirt by Schmidt. And then, top of the 7th, the pickoff. Instead, they pick off the first baseman, Schmidt. That's all. Forsch all the way. His first shutout, by the way, in 2 years.
He was up left-handed in yesterday's ball game in a bunting situation.
Strike 2, 2 balls, 2.
Marion put the Mets up 2-0. Oh, my goodness. Oh.
Well, Jim Fry looking on as Strawberry gets congratulated for another home run, his 25th. That's his 9th home run in his last 30 ball games. And it was Jim Fry who used to work with Darryl Strawberry when he was the batting coach of the New York Mets. He is not enjoying the fruits of his work. Boy, you talk about a blast. That ball went over the Big Apple.
The apple couldn't come up.
Look at this. Now, this is where the Big Apple is. You see it out there. It indicates a home run, and that ball scared that machine to death. It never did operate.
Ground ball, base hit by Foster.
So George Foster's on there. Going to be playable. Gary Matthews.
Well, Dunston makes a fine play out of this as he gets to the ball. It's by Say. Tries to get the throw off the first, but no chance to pick up Mookie Wilson. Durham comes off the back.
Grounds this one towards short. Dunston back to second for the sure.
To tie the game at 1-1. And now Luis Aguayo doubles to left. Virgil, who is on second base, comes in to score, and the Phillies lead by a score of 2-1. Schmidt made it a 3-1 ball game when he knocked in Stone, so the Phillies still batting, leading 3-1 against the St. Louis Cardinals in the bottom half of the third.
Grounds this one toward Durham. Could get two. Dunston back to Durham. They can't turn. Dug that ball off the ground, didn't he, Ralph?
At bats. Low fastball, no doubt about it, as he takes it over the left center field fence into the bleachers. And Foster with his 19th.
4 runs, and now Knight base hit to left field, and that's got to be all for Fontenot, I would think.
Made his first appearance this year in the major leagues against the...
Tello is there to tag him out. He stayed in the rundown long enough, however, for Backman to make it to second base, which was...
Detroit tacking on 2 more against the Yankees. They're now leading 8-2 in the bottom of the 4th.
Hernandez hits a rope to right, but Moreland is there.
Good news for the Mets. Speak for yourself. 27,000 at Shea. The Mets beat the Cubs 5-1. Sid Fernandez went 8. Allowed only 1 hit. A third-inning home run by Gary Matthews struck out 11. And the Cardinals finally lost. So the Mets cut it to 1 with 16 to play. It's anybody's race, folks. Let's go to the videotape, bottom of the second. Gary Carter facing former Yankee Ray Fontenot, who's always given up that home run ball, and boom, Carter's 29th home run of the year, and it was 1-0 Mets. Come on, take a bow, Gary. That's it. The next batter, Darryl Strawberry, comes up, and Fontenot's pitch, boom, look at this shot. This hits the home run sign. That was Strawberry's 25th of the year, 2-0. Take a bow, Darryl. Then bottom of the third, 3-1. One on and boom. Foster with his 19th of the year, 5-1. Come on, George, you take a bow. And Fontenot knocked out. Take a bow, Ray. Hey, wait a minute. Ooh, that's it. Cubs finished, by the way, 0-9 at Shea. Take a bow, Michelle. In Philadelphia, the Phillies did the Cardinals. Did the Cardinals a favor, beating the Cardinals 6-3. The Phils did the Mets a favor, beat the Cards 6-3. Let's go to the videotape. This was really the highlight for the Cardinals. In the 5th inning, Vince Coleman becomes the only rookie in history to steal 100 bases. All right, if there was any question about the weakness of the Yankees starting pitching staff, there should be none now. Tigers beat the Yanks 10-3. The Yanks have now lost 7 in a row. Joe Niekro...
For this base hit off Kevin Groves. Dwight taking that fastball into left field for that base hit. He batted again in the 6th inning, this time against Tolliver, and against Tolliver, Dwight Gooden doubles the center field. And on this one, he drives in 2 runs as he drives in Foster and Santana. Little flip there by Stone over to the center fielder, Von Hayes, and he gets the ball in, but not in time as the Mets come up with 2 big runs. And then yesterday, before the big crowd of over 50,000, Gooden takes a slider over the left field fence for his home run, his first major league home run. And he said he'd rather talk about his home run hitting and get a home run than pitch a no-hitter, but I doubt that. He also came up with another base hit in that ball game. Gooden happy about the fact that he had driven in 3 runs. That closed out the inning for the starting pitcher. Rick Rhoden, here's another base hit. He was robbed of a base hit before that on a great catch by the third baseman. Gonzalez, his 2nd time up. That's his 3rd at bat. He also had another base hit. And Dwight Gooden with 5 hits in the week. He had a total of 6 RBIs in the week, and a real big week with the bat for Dwight Gooden, also winning 2 ball games. We'll return in just a moment right after.
Giving it your
your all is what counts. So thanks, Gary. Thanks, New York Newsday.
Here's your New York Newsday. Hey, Gary!
Is this the way they deliver papers in New York?
More late sports, more city news, more neighborhood news than ever before.
They sure have a great sports section.
Look for the introductory offer at your newsstand now. New York Newsday. More than the news.
I send all kinds of stuff overnight. The one overnight express company that saves money for me is
To Mets Baseball 85. Brought to you.
Just makes a nice catch, but he's off the bag.
Ace hit.
So Wally Backman got it. That's how they wound up with Reynolds. Orsulak is not going, and the pitch is
Shortstop. Boy, that is so true. There's a breaking pitch in and over, and the count goes even 1-1.
The fly ball to the opposite field over George Foster's head. Some question Foster's play on the ball, but
grounded to the right side and through for a base hit. Orsulak being waved in by Bob Skinner, and the throw is cut off.
It is developing into a good night for the Mets. While in the 8th inning, the Cardinals trail the Pirates 4-3 in Philly. Mets beat the Phils 4-1, bouncing back from that unhappy weekend against the Pirates. In the 3rd, Gary Carter delivers. This with a man on for Carter, his 30th of the season, one shy of his career high. He has 89 RBIs. Mets up 2-zip, take a 3-0 lead off this base hit by Mookie Wilson in the 4th inning. RBI single to score George Foster. In the Mets 6th, Wally Backman going to the gap. RBI double for Backman. Len Dykstra scores. It is 4-1 Mets. Superb play, bottom of the 6th. Von Hayes with the bouncer. Keith Hernandez going to the plate to get Juan Samuel. Very few first basemen could make that particular play. So the Mets over the Phillies by the score of 4-1. In the National League West at the moment, the Dodgers are 5.5 games in front of the Reds in Houston. In the
Sid twirled a two-hitter today as the Mets defeated Philadelphia 7-1. It was Fernandez's second straight victory in the pennant drive, and the way he's pitched, it's hard to believe that El Cid has a losing record this season. Mets played some good ball behind him. We're in the 3rd inning now, 2 runners on. Fernandez is struggling. A short pop to right field. Larry Boa goes back, makes the catch, a super catch that got Fernandez out of that jam. A double play ended the 3rd inning. Larry Boa, a major league play, helped Fernandez. 2-0 now. We're in the 8th inning. Gary Carter, what can you say about him? He's been hitting a ton down the stretch. That single sent in a run, making it 3-0. Up comes George Foster, a single up the middle. That one made it 4-0. The Mets took the lead early, held on to win easily 7-1. El Cid went the distance. Complete game. He didn't get a shutout, but he got the victory. The Mets won it 7-1. As I said, Fernandez gave up only 2 hits, and he struck out 9. Fernandez's record now 8 wins and 9 losses, but I'll tell you, give me this guy any time in a big game. Fernandez has pitched very well. Down in St. Louis tonight, here we go. The 1st inning, the Cardinals against the Pirates. 2 runners on base. Terry Pendleton up against Pittsburgh. Ground ball past the first baseman. 2-run score. Pirates lead by a count of 2-0. Pirates kill you with singles. They just aren't losing any games lately. Now Mike Jorgensen up, a fly ball to center field. Easy catch for R.J. Reynolds. Watch what this guy does in a big ball game. Unacceptable. The Pirates didn't do that against the Mets. They played good ball. That made it 4-1. Pittsburgh came back a little bit. Bill Allman with a double off the left field wall got them within a run at 4-3, but they're in the 8th inning.
Hernandez, the runner at first base, 2 men away. And strike 3. Carter called out on...
I think he uttered that phrase here in Chicago, but I think it came from somebody else.
So it's Bob De Niro to lead off for the Cubs.
It's going to be a tough angle, but from this angle here, it's a strike.
That angle would make it look like
a 2-game series with the Cubs at Wrigley this afternoon, where Chicago came from behind to win at 5-4 with 2-out hit in the bottom of the 9th. Gary Carter gave Ron Darling a 4-1 lead in the 6th with this grand slam. Number 9 for Carter, his 2nd of the season, but the lead didn't hold up. It was tied at 4 in the 9th. Davey Lopes on first with a 2-out walk from Jesse Orozco. They had him picked off, but the ball got stuck in Keith Hernandez's glove, and Lopes moved on to 2nd. And then he moved on to 3rd. Lopes had 3 stolen bases this afternoon, and at age 39 now has 47 for the season. That set the stage for pinch hitter Chris Spire's game-winning hit. Spire taking loser Jesse Orozco to left. Lopes scoring easily from third, and the final read 5-4 Cubs. And we've got a final. St. Louis is now 4 games ahead of the Mets as they have just beaten Philadelphia 6-3. The game just over. The difference in this ball game came in the very first inning. It was a 3-run homer right here by Tommy Herr. Number 7 for Herr on the season, his 105th RBI. The Cards beating Philadelphia 6-3. As for the races in the West.
Channel 2 News will be...
Andujar, who had 121. The Mets got the better of him in the first. Gary Carter loops a single into center. Wally Backman trots in from third. It's 1-0 New York. In the Mets half of the second, 1 out. Gooden grounds to short. The possible inning double play, but Howard Johnson out at second, but Gooden beats the throw at first. What an athlete he is. The run scores from third, and it's 2-0 Mets. Cardinals got 1 back in the third. Darrell Porter drills one to right center over Mookie Wilson's head. Andy Van Slyke scores. Porter pulls in with a triple, and it's 2-1. But Gooden got terrific help defensively all evening long. Watch him corral the high chop here and beat the speedy Willie McGee to first with the throw, erasing him. That's tough to do, folks. But watch this. Gooden delivers to Jack Clark. Clark delivers one up the middle. Watch Wally Backman somehow get it and throw him out at first. And now we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. The score 5-2 at this point. Dwight Gooden with the bases loaded, 2 outs. Red-hot Tommy Herr at the plate, and this is the final out of the baseball game. A screaming shot caught by Wally Backman. And that ends it as the New York Mets climb to within 1 game of the St. Louis Cardinals in the National League East. Terry?
In other news, the Dallas... They executed bunt, and Keith comes up with his first hit. That was a slider over the middle.
11, and this ball a bullet. A shot over the left center field fence to tie up the ball game at 4-4. Raines coming up with a big day against.
Low outside.
Strawberry comes through with a single to right field, scoring Hernandez to make it a 7-4 ball game. Hernandez chugging around and coming in to score to make it a 3-run lead for the New York Mets. Now George Foster gets this little looper out into center field. It is caught out to Carter, and the Mets take an 8-4 lead in the ball game. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Mookie Wilson takes it downtown as he takes a curveball over the right field fence, and the final score of the ball game, it's the Mets 9 and Montreal 4, and the Mets keeping their hopes alive.
Far, but the Mets couldn't prevent the St. Louis Magic number from dwindling to 1. The Cards defeating last year's champs, the Chicago Cubs, in St. Louis. The final was 4-2. Cards led 1-0 in the bottom of the 4th inning. Leadoff hitter Andy Van Slyke will tag Dennis Eckersley and tag him good. The drive into deep right field is gone. Number 13 of the year for Van Slyke puts the Cards up 2-0. Card starter Bob Forsch pitched a tough game indeed. Got 13 Cubs in a row, including Gary Matthews, to end the top of the 6th inning on strikes there. Bottom of the 7th, the Cardinals just exploded after Darrell Porter tripled. Ozzie Smith with a drive. Fair ball down the right field line. This one will roll forever. Ozzie will go all the way to third on the triple. Porter obviously scoring. The Cardinals lead it 3-0. Meanwhile, 35-year-old Bob Forsch also added some offensive punch. He follows Smith with a Baltimore chop single over the drawn-in infield. Ozzie trots home to make it 4-0. Forsch lifted in the 9th for relief pitcher Todd Worrell. Cubs with 2 on, and Ryan Sandberg will drive one down the right field line, and that is a fair ball to get Davey Lopes home. Bob Dernier on the move will make the turn for home, but hold up. The Cubs eventually did score that run to make it 4-2 Cardinals, but Worrell shut the door. With 2 out, Jody Davis pops to third, and the Cardinals win it and are assured of no worse than a tie in the National League East. Whitey Herzog feeling a little bit
their share, but their odds got worse nevertheless. They beat Montreal 9-4, but now they are relegated to becoming A1 Chicago Cubs fans the next 2 days. Mets hoping that it was not over yet, and they weren't even looking for a fat lady at this point. They had Keith Hernandez, who would go 3 for 3 in this game. That makes him 8 for his last 8. The base hit to right is scored a triple. You can tell they're playing at home as Dawson overruns it. Wilson and Bachman score. Hernandez gets into third. Eventually, the Mets lead it 2-0. Next up in the bottom of the 1st against Bill Gullickson, Darryl Strawberry. Fly ball to left field. This one, Tim Raines gets the late jump on. He can't come up with it. Base hit, scoring Hernandez. Mets score 4 in the 1st, lead at 4-0. In the 3rd, though, Raines makes amends and then some. Takes Sid Fernandez downtown to left field. 2-run homer, 10th of the year, makes it a 4-2 Mets lead. Now in the 5th, it's 4-3. Raines does it again. Up again against Fernandez, does the same thing. Moves it over a little bit to right center this time. But it's the same effect as we're tied at 4. But in the bottom of the 5th, the Mets with the bases loaded. Gary Carter, the infield hit off Gullickson's glove. Dykstra will score as all hands are safe. The Mets go on to blow this one out later on, winning by a score of 9-4. Sid Fernandez went the first 5 to get his 9th win. Bill Gullickson started, lost it for the Expos. He is 14. They have the very real possibility of winning 100 games and not going to postseason play because the Cards, as Greg mentioned, have clinched that time.
Tuesday night, game number 1 of the series. Scoreless through 10 innings. Ken Daly on the mound. Darryl Strawberry at the bat, and Darryl takes it way downtown, and the Mets win it by a score of 1-0. Tudor had hooked up with Darling in a scoreless pitching duel until the 10th. With Jesse Orozco in relief, 2 men out, Tommy Herr on third. Ivan De Jesus is at the plate. The tension is tough. And here's the pitch, and the Mets come up with a victory as De Jesus flies out for the final out of the ball game as Mookie Wilson puts it away. Mets win game number 1 by a score of 1-0. The first leg of what the hopeful Mets hope will be a big sweep of the 3-game series. It's Fredberg taking aim right there as we take a look at the second game of the big important series. It's Wednesday night, top of the first, 1 out, Backman on third, Hernandez on first base, walking onto on the mound, and Gary Carter singles to center, scoring Backman, and the Mets go up by a score of 1-0. In the bottom of the 9th inning with 2 men out, bases loaded, Mets holding on to a 5-2 lead, and Dwight Gooden pitching. Tommy Herr lines out to Backman, and the Mets win the ball game by a score of 5-2, and the Cardinal lead now cut to 1 game. In game number 3 on Thursday, bottom of the 4th inning, 2 men out, runners on second and third. Ozzie Smith and Gerald Porter the runners, Rick Aguilera in the mound. Vince Coleman singles with this soft hit in the left field, and with the score tied at 1-1, the Cardinals now take the lead by a score of 3-1. Now in the top of the 9th inning, Gary Carter at bat. Cardinals leading by a score of 4-3. Jeff Lottie gets the final out, throwing 1 pitch, and the Cardinals win the ball game 4-3, and they increase their lead to 2 full games over the New York Mets. Mets able to win 2, but not the 3rd game of the 3-game series. So it ain't over till the Fat Lady sings. The Mets return to Shea Stadium. It's Keith Hernandez at the plate. Friday night, bottom of the 1st. Keith with a 3-base hit. Mookie Wilson, who was on second base, scores, and the Mets take the lead by a score of 2-0. Backman also scoring on the play. Bottom of the 8th inning, the Mets leading by a score of 8-4, and Mookie Wilson takes one downtown. Mookie getting all of that curveball, and the Mets add on 1 more run and lead by a score 9-4. And that was the way the ball game ended as the Mets won the very first game with the Montreal Expos. Meanwhile, in St. Louis, fireworks as the Cardinals leading by a score of 2-0. Ozzie Smith triples to right field, driving in Darryl Porter from third base, and the Cardinals increase their lead to 3-0. Ozzie Smith cruising into third base with a stand-up triple. Going to the top of the 9th inning, the Cardinals leading by a score of 4-2. Jody Davis flies to Pendleton for the 3rd out, and the Cardinals win their ball game by that score of 4-2. Saturday at Shea Stadium in the top of the 1st inning, Andre Dawson. The pitcher is Ron Darling, and Dawson on a 3-1 pitch lines it over the right field fence, and the Montreal Expos take a lead of 2-0. Dawson picking up his 22nd home run of the year. Then in the bottom of the 8th inning, a look at Gary Carter. After the Mets had seen the Cardinals score, the Cardinals winning by 7-1, and that's the way it ended. Cardinals pulling in with a 7-1 victory, so everything for the Mets is academic, although Darryl Strawberry contributed to the action in the bottom of the 8th inning when he hit his 29th home run. That's the most he's ever hit as a New York Met. And the final score of that ball game, the Expos 8, the Mets 3. But even though the Mets lost and the St. Louis Cardinals were winning, the Mets had something to celebrate as they announced the all-time attendance for our New York team in New York. And now in St. Louis, Ryan Sandberg, the batter, John Tudor on the mound, and the fly ball to right field is caught by Van Slyke, and that nails it down for the St. Louis Cardinals as they defeated the Cubs by a score of 7-1. The Cardinals, the National League champions in the National League East. Well, the season started right here at Shea Stadium.
On for the Mets and Yankees, the 1985 baseball season is now history. Both teams finishing second in their respective divisions, compiling nearly identical records. It was a season we all dreamed of a Subway Series, and while those dreams did not become reality, they have now turned into pleasant memories. I'll always remember this season for the courageous performance turned in by Gary Carter, his first as catcher for the Mets. He'll have surgery on his damaged knee this Wednesday. He could have quit at mid-season. He didn't, and Carter, more than anyone else, symbolizes the desire the team displayed in '85. This was the season Darryl Strawberry came of age, but on May 11th, a broken thumb sent him to the sidelines for 2 months. You have to wonder, what if? Especially the way the Mets played when Strawberry's power returned to the lineup. Darryl finishing the season with 29 home runs. This was a trouble-filled season for Keith Hernandez. There was his admission of cocaine use in Pittsburgh, a nasty divorce case. But through it all, Hernandez came to play, going 5 for 5 against St. Louis in the most crucial game of the season as he turned in yet another 300-year at the plate. On the mound for the Mets, Dwight Gooden was once again brilliant. 24 wins, the youngest player to win 20 games in Major League history at age 20. The Cy Young Award is his in only his second Major League season. Ron Darling complimented Dwight's performance and turned in the game of his career against John Tudor in St. Louis last week, his 16th win of the season. When you look back on the Yankees in '85, as usual, one will recall the good and the bad. On the positive side, the MVP performance of Don Mattingly. While hitting better than .320, the Yankee first baseman led all of baseball with 145 RBIs. His 35 home runs were tops on the team. In addition to having the league's MVP, the Yankees also have the Cy Young Award favorite in Ron Guidry. Gators' 22 wins, tops in the American League. And of course, '85 will be remembered as the year 46-year-old Phil Niekro notched his 300th win on the final day of the season. And he did it in style, blanking the Blue Jays 8-0 to become the oldest player in Major League history to ever hurl a shutout. But '85 will also be remembered as the season when Yogi Berra was fired and Billy Martin returned to the dugout for the 4th time. And as usual, controversy followed. Martin finishing the '85 campaign with a broken arm, the result of yet another barroom brawl, this one with his own pitcher, Ed Whitson. And for both the Yankees and the Mets, the old cliche, wait until next year, is an exciting prospect. Our congratulations to both teams and a heartfelt thank you.
Pulling even, the Mets are 2 back with just 3 games to go. The race for all. The Magic dies the following afternoon. Toronto a winner.
You know, back in spring training, a lot of people wondered what would happen this year at Yankee Stadium on the
baseball. So is Dave Winfield. Yanks go on to score a Major League leading 839 runs. Starting pitching. Now there's the rub. Aside from Ron Guidry, who goes 22-6, and baseball's newest 300-game winner, Phil Niekro, there's just nobody there. Ed Whitson, off to a horrible start, rallies to win 10. Joe Cowley, a 12-game winner, but far too inconsistent. John the Count Montefusco injured early. Dennis Rasmussen never really effective. Certainly the team's weakest link overall. Back to more controversy. Key series, Yankee Stadium, mid-September. First place Toronto in town. Yankees lose 3 of 4 and an excellent chance to get back in the race. The owner erupts, criticizes his big money players. The Yankees end up losing 8 consecutive games.
We were playing good ball, and it just seems so happened that it corresponded with the owner coming in one day and saying that we didn't doing the job when these guys came to New York. These guys just played better than we did, that's all.
It's rather tame. No fisticuffs, no name calling. On the field, well, injuries, a major factor in the Mets' failure to grab the flag. Then there's that team in St. Louis. They had a lot to do with it as well.
They'd given it all, but it hadn't been enough. The race officially over. A roaring Shea Stadium crowd acknowledges its heroes for a job well done.
It was almost like an audience.
Would be a special year. Gary Carter's dramatic home run gives the Mets an opening day victory. The excitement never seemed to wane, yet the ultimate goal goes unfulfilled.
It's kind of like being the bridesmaid, never the bride. I feel it.
Catcher Gary Carter. Yes, he finishes with 32 home runs and 100 RBIs. But Gary struggles through the final 2 months with a knee injury he's already undergone surgery to correct.
He showed so much intestinal fortitude and so much class that...
Wonder how they could have had so much trouble with weak teams like the Pirates and the Giants late in the year. The Bucks, for instance, took 2 of 3 from the Mets in 2 straight critical series.
I think the only explanation maybe for it is that after the St. Louis series is when we played Pittsburgh, and after one of the big series here, I forget who it was, we went on the West Coast. Those 2 teams, not playing well against those 2 teams, I think really hurt us.
But what hurt the Mets most of all, nearly perfect John Tudor and the eventual National League champion St. Louis Cardinals. They could do no wrong.
It was absolutely a question of the Cardinals playing too well. When you win 98 ball games and don't win your division, that's a major upset.
By clinching the title in the National League East, and the dreams of a Subway Series were finally put to sleep for another year. Hi, I'm Fran Healy. And Keith Hernandez. The list is endless. So when we come back, Sports Channel salutes the Mets before they heard the first cry of play ball, even before the first sounds of spring training. As a matter of fact, it started just before Christmas when Frank Cashin went shopping for a gift to put under the Mets tree, but came home with a star that belonged on top of it.
It was a very difficult trade to make because, first of all, we had to satisfy Montreal with the players. It amazed me.
The New York Mets are on the verge of winning here. And that's something, like I said, has eluded me over the years, and that's what I want to be a part of. I've saved this right ring finger for that World Series ring, and I know Frank wants to have another one too, right?
And when the season finally began, Gary Carter paid his first dividend, a game-winning home run in the 10th inning, as the Mets won their 14th opening game in the last 16 years, beating the Cardinals 6-5. And with Darryl Strawberry providing some additional firepower to go along with Dwight Gooden's heat and a newcomer out of the bullpen named Roger McDowell, who got wins in his first 2 appearances, the Mets were off and running to their best start ever, winning their first 5 games and finding themselves in first place. But they danced to a different tune after that, playing just under .500 ball and dropping to 3rd place, although only 1 game out of first. And then in a game at Shea against the Pirates, Strawberry got the Mets out on top in the 1st inning with his 6th home run, a grand slam. But the Mets didn't see home plate again for 17 innings, and after tying the game, neither did Pittsburgh. The Mets' own ancient mariner, Rusty Staub, got into the act when he found himself playing right field because there was just no one else available. Finally, in the bottom of the 18th, Clint Hurdle's game-winning RBI knocked in Mookie Wilson for a well-deserved victory, as the Mets then went on to win 9 out of 11 and regained first place. But it was also during that streak that Darryl Strawberry injured his thumb and missed the next 7 weeks. With Darryl's bat out of the lineup, the Mets found it difficult putting runs up on the board. But fortunately, their pitchers were almost as stingy in giving them up. Led, of course, by Dwight Gooden, who on May 25th had a 6-3 record and didn't lose a game in June, didn't lose a game in July, and didn't lose a game until the last day of August, 14 wins without a loss. When Strawberry came back, the Mets were in 4th place, 3.5 games out. But then they put together a 9-game winning streak, including the July 4th game against Atlanta. 19 innings, 6 hours and 10 minutes, before finally winning 16-13, and the fireworks began. By the beginning of August, they had climbed back to second place, only 2.5 games behind the Cardinals, and promptly proceeded to put together another 9-game winning streak, highlighted by the straw man's 3 home runs against Chicago on August 5th, which put the Mets back into undisputed possession of first place for the first time since June 5th. But they hit a dry spell at the end of the month, losing 7 of the last 11, including Gooden's first loss since May. So when September started, they were again in second place, 2 games in back of St. Louis. But again they bounced back, winning the first 5 games, including a 3-game sweep of San Diego, led by Gary Carter's 3-home run game on September 3rd. Gary was playing with a banged-up knee that required postseason surgery and was in constant pain. But he still managed to put together a month that earned him Player of the Month honors. The last game of that streak took place in Los Angeles and featured a classic confrontation between Gooden and Fernando Valenzuela, who matched shutouts for 9 innings. And when Dwight wasn't throwing strikeouts, he had some great fielding behind him. Until Strawberry's double in the 13th inning finally won it. Although Gooden didn't get the win, he did get 3 others in September without a loss. He pitched 44 innings without an earned run and was named National League Pitcher of the Month. And he hit his first Major League home run. The stage was now set for some high drama at Shea as the Mets and the Cards squared off in a crucial 3-game series, with the New Yorkers winning 2 out of 3 as Keith Hernandez, who led the majors with 24 game-winning RBIs, singled in the bottom of the 9th of the rubber game to give the Mets a win and a 1-game lead. But again, they began to flounder, finding it difficult to beat the Expos, the Pirates, and the Phillies, while the Cardinals kept winning. And as October began, the Mets were 3 games behind the Cardinals, with the next 3 games coming up in St. Louis, and with the Mets needing all 3 to stay in the race. Game number 1 turned into another classic, with 16-game winner Ron Darling going against the
counter, and he had threw me a breaking ball.
That's 2 20-game winners, Dwight Gooden against Joaquin Andujar. The Mets jumped out on top in the first inning on the way to an easy 5-2 win, as Dr. K won his 24th, striking out 10 for a season total of 268, and ended with an ERA of 1.53, all major league highs. But more importantly, the Mets were just 1 game out of first place.
Gary, give us an evaluation first of Dwight Gooden's performance tonight.
Well, I thought he was just on the whole night. You know, we needed a big outing from him again, and he came through for us. And he got a little bit touchy there in that 9th inning, but, you know, the doctor tightened up his belt there when he needed to, and he got him out.
The Mets began the final game against the Cards as though they were going to run them out of St. Louis. In the top of the first, with 1 run already in, bases loaded, they had the Cards against the ropes, but couldn't deliver the knockout blow. Instead, the Cards came back with Vince Coleman getting the game-winning hit off rookie Rick Aguilera, who had won 10 games since his call-up in June. But it was almost over for the Mets.
Well, we're just trying to keep our heads up. You know, we were not out of it yet. We came in 3 down, and before tonight we were 1 down. You know, it's just we're going to need a lot of help, you know, obviously, but we're going to go in and try to, you know, win our 3 games at home and hopefully get some help from the Cubs.
They returned home the next day and beat Montreal to keep their hopes alive. But on Saturday,